and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Now, the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And when you break your headsets right before the show starts, that might not be a good sign when you're doing a radio show. One ear off, one ear on. It's actually not. It's actually a little more comfortable not having both ears covered up. But
You look like a pilot.
Yeah, look, it's just trying to check that out. Look at Gunn coming in. Brendan Gunn's got me covered. Those are some really looking big headsets. We'll change them out during the break. John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Bradford White Water Heaters are here for the Pro. They bring you the 6 o'clock hour of the show. And I think a little bit of the sting of championship weekend is wearing off. We have some new assistant coaches that are coming on board. And all anyone could comment about with Clint Hurt, the new D-line coach, who used to be the defensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks, is just what a beast he is. And if you haven't seen the pictures, Hurt is H-U-R-T-T, because they had to add an extra T, because the man is huge. So he's been hired as their D-line coach, and they're bringing in also, too, Carl Scott to coach the defensive backs. And all I can tell you is just reading the Seattle press on Clint Hurt and Carl Scott, there's two messages that came across to me, and I think that they will be pleasing to many Eagles fans that were frustrated with what you saw this year. Carl Scott, once a physical defensive backfield, wants guys who did not shy away from a little bit of the physical play and doesn't want a very passive secondary. Clint Hurt, a physical beast himself, known as a guy who can get the most out of players. I'm reading Seattle's press yesterday. A guy who can take a marginal player and get them to be better. And I think is the new D-line coach, Bob. I would say that Clint Hurt being brought in off of the Pete Carroll. These guys are Pete Carroll guys. Them coming in tells me all I need to know about what the Eagles organization thinks, what we talked about yesterday. They've got to be able to get next year out of Jordan Davis and continue the escalation of Jalen Carter. This guy is being brought in to be the sheriff. He's being brought in to kick some ass. Honestly, this is a man who isn't. He's not going to worry about feelings. He is a very, very physically intimidating and supposedly too a guy who can ride players to be their best and to make sure he's getting the most out of them.
Yeah, and it really tells you where the front office puts the blame for last year, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, just wholesale coaching changes, and maybe rightfully so. Maybe you think you had the talent there. I thought there was a total disconnect between coaches and players last year, especially at the end of the year, obviously, where if they were scheming something up, it couldn't be more wrong.
No.
You didn't have players where they were supposed to be after preaching all year long that we're just trying to get players in positions. I don't know what positions you had them in, but they weren't the ones that they should have been in. So, yeah, this tells you a lot. D-line coach, okay, get in here and fix those young fatties. And then, you get a defensive back coach, good. If you're good at making ordinary players better, good, because you have a plethora of ordinary players back there. So have at it. This really does reek to me. The meetings between Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman a couple of weeks back were, okay, let's keep Nick, but my God, does he need help? That's what it reeks to me of.
It is I've always been a fan of Pete Carroll. So for whatever reason, college pro, I've always been a fan that I think there's a consistency about Pete Carroll as a coach, that he's one of those guys. He's not Mike Tomlin for the same level of consistency, but I think he's a guy who you always can sort of consider that the product he's going to put out there, you're going to be in for a tussle. And to me, any guys who coached under him for a while and had the chance to learn under him, I think that is also valuable. But it's clear these guys are being brought in to be badass sheriffs. I don't think that anybody would have said Sean Desai is going to go in and intimidate the defense or be able to get in a player's face and try to get the most out of them. Whether that works with the modern-day athlete or not is a question, and there are some that will question it, that's old school, that's something that grandpa likes. In today's day and age, you can't deal with players like that. But it's clear that there are some teams that still coach and teach that way. Success.
I can't look at a guy and see a hulking dude and just assume that he's a kick-ass kind of coach. Maybe he's a panda bear. Maybe he's a sweetheart. Maybe that's the way he gets through to his players is by patting them on the ass instead of kicking them there. I don't know. We'll see. This team needs something drastically because there is talent there. There's talent on that defensive line. There's talent maybe somewhere else on that defense too that they're going to have to find. But yeah, I like that they address defensive line coach, get a guy in here that can get a hold of these youngsters quickly and, hopefully, I don't want to say save their careers, but get their careers back on the right path. Yeah.
They went out there and found some guys, Pat, that just sort of changed the whole makeup of this coaching staff, making it a little more – this looks like it'll be a little bit more vocal and honestly, too, a little bit more accomplished as far as just not going with guys that are up and coming, going with guys that have a little bit more of a track record. And that's what Vic Fangio wants. He's going to want he definitely is Vic Fangio is not a feelings type of coach, as we learned from some of the Miami players being a little offended by his hard-nosed approach.
They're good because the kumbaya, pat him on the back, be your best friend didn't work last year. So this team needs a kick in the ass. They need a guy who's going to be hard on them, especially the defensive line. I mean, yeah, okay, you invested heavily in your defensive tackles. Please, by all means, tell me a young defensive end they have. I'm all ears. They have no depth. They have zero depth at the position. They have Josh Sweat. They have Hassan Reddick, who's listed as a linebacker, but we all know he's a defensive end.
Sure.
And that's it. So, hopefully they can come in here and develop somebody, because last year the coaching staff came in and there was no rotation. They had Nolan Smith, but same thing with Hassan Reddick. I mean, hopefully they can figure that one out. But they need to develop. I'm not even looking at the two guys up the middle. They need to develop some defensive end, talent, because they don't really have much.
It leads me into a discussion, though, of wondering. Nick Sirianni's here. He's staying, and that has been a decision that has been made by the front office. I'm going to tell you right now, though, my question is, usually it's the assistant coaches that can be more the bad cop, and it's the head coach. The good cop, and it's the head coach who's more the bad cop. You have assistant coaches that can sort of, mend fences, work all that. It seems like we've got the good cop as the head coach, and now we're bringing in a bunch of guys who are more, let's just say, assertive in the assistant coach ranks. They're brought in to be the real sheriffs, and the guy who's the buddy is the guy who's the head coach. To me, it seems a bit backward.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you have all the beats that are down there all the time in practice saying that Nick Sirianni is a get-in-your-face type of coach, screaming and hollering at the players during practices and all that they get to see. He doesn't back away from that, according to their reporting. I don't know. Vic Fangio at 65 years old, is he going to be patient to put up with crap and all that? No, it's probably his way or the highway, I would imagine. Any coach that's been around as long as he has is probably short on patience in a good way. But I don't know. I don't know. You look at a guy like Jeff Stoutland, who looks like an older, rough, tough guy, and he sits there and converses with those guys. He talks it out. You see it all the time. You hear Mailata talk about him and the way they do. Coaching styles is really hard to know unless you're around it every day. And if you're looking for, I guess, the good guy, I don't know, Sirianni seems to be that with all the pandering stuff. But like I said, at the same time, you do have, if we talk to a Jeff McClain, Zach Berman, they say he's an in-your-face coach at practice. So
I wonder about the meshing, though. The meshing of personalities and how everything comes together when you're doing one of these, wholesale type of changes. I mean, there is a definite changes of, atmosphere and attitude that's going around this. And The one thing I would say that is good is that when you bring in a Vic Fangio, he is able to get these gentlemen coming over from Seattle being spoken to by 3 or 4 teams in the NFL about joining their staffs. Now, a lot of times when a coordinator is getting replaced, they're not getting another coordinator position, they're very sought after because they've got that. So that could be very much what Hurt is coming here for. That, is you get a guy who's been a DC, so now he has to take the step back. He's ready there. But also, too, I would suspect maybe just in that mind, he goes, I want to go work with a guy like Fangio. I want to go work with a guy, learn more about what he's about, so I can then take that and put that into my next job. Look, I don't know who's coming here to work with Sirianni. Like who? Did the assistant coaches come to work with the coordinators? Or do the assistant coaches come and say, man, I really want to be a part of what Nick Sirianni's got cooking? And that's what I find a little hard to believe, that he would have that cachet to be like, yeah, I want to work with Sirianni. He's the guy. He's the next guy to hook onto. He's the next McVay, Shanahan, that type of coach. I want to get on his bandwagon.
Nah.
I don't feel that.
No.
Yeah, I don't feel it.
His fingerprints are not all over this organization. It's blatantly obvious. They're looking for as many coaches as they can to come in and right what was so wrong over those last 7 games. I don't get the feeling. I don't know. I think guys take jobs because there's jobs. I mean,
there's 32 teams, right?
Yeah. You're going to make me your D-line coach? Absolutely. I have no other offers, and I can't wait to come there with you. Oh, yeah, I love Vic Fangio. Everybody's going to say the right things. Guys are attractive here. Do you take this over other places? I'm sure in some instances, yeah. I mean, Philadelphia is always right there.
Organization, right?
Yeah, they're always right there as far as contender, winner. It appears you have an offense that if it gets righted, you can outscore a lot of teams. Yeah, so a defensive spot here would be kind of nice as long as you're, being promised like we're seriously going to look at free agents. We have some things to address in the draft. Linebackers. All of those things, but yeah, I don't think Nick Sirianni is
the draw,
essentially a drawing card.
So we'll have more on the Eagles coming up, but last night not worth staying up late, Bob. Not worth it. And when you find out that Embiid and Maxey aren't playing, you already know you're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, and then you watch the first couple of minutes of the Sixers Trailblazers last night, and you see that Tobias Harris just doesn't have it. And we've all been there. You get off of sickness, and you try to play, and it's hard. Your body's just not there, and he didn't look good last night either. You're asking Patrick Beverley to play a serious minutes at 8 years old. Guys having to fill
fresh
in.
Off Seattle, the Denver game on Saturday.
Yeah, Paul Reed had a really good game Saturday against Denver. You can't count on 30 and 13 from him, and that kind of comes back to reality a little bit again. It's the concerning thing is we all just talk about Embiid's out again. Well, let's dive deeper. How bad is this knee? There's been some knee problems all year long that has cost him to miss games. I really want to hear how bad it is. Is it more of a rest thing? Is it being cautious? Is there something serious going on there? Sprained ankle for Maxey. That sucks. Sprained ankle's like, ugh. I was telling my wife the other night we were watching a game and somebody turned it, and I can feel it. I've done it so many times, broke a couple ankles. That just sucks, and it just deters you so badly.
I broke an ankle, and I've sprained ankles. And I think a sprained ankle is more painful. Was more painful than when I broke my.
Well, yeah, because you're continuing to walk on it and all that stuff. Yeah, they, you break it, they cast it up, and you get out of it, and you have the apathy and all that, or atrophy. Rather.
Atrophy. There's some apathy too.
There was an apathy in my leg. Yeah,
it gets a little involved.
It just, and a guy that has to rely on his legs the way that Tyrese Maxey does, that sucks. Like this road trip just sucks so far, and then you got to go back at it again tonight. You
say Golden State, just that snake bit.
It just can catch you real quick. I've seen it. I've been there when both teams were good, and it's just like when they start playing well, it could be downhill quickly.
If you want to attend our First Friday, we would love to see you on First Friday coming up this Friday. February the 2nd. You can go to 975thefanatic.com and grab one of the remaining seats. If you are lucky enough to be selected, we want to have you there. So go to 975thefanatic.com. We promise to feed you. We're not going to let you. We're not going to let you go hungry. We'll get you your morning coffee. We will hopefully entertain you too. Pat, there's no promises on entertainment, right there. I mean, we don't put that in writing.
No, absolutely
we
not.
don't want to get sued.
Absolutely not. You're coming for free food and to see
whoever
a thing. You're seeing a 4-hour thing. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Some people would say it's radio. Some people want it. I don't know.
So Friday morning, you want to be a part of it. We'd love to see you. It's going to be a nice day on Friday, too. So you come on out. No worrying about snow or anything like that. And they say we will see the sun by the end of the week.
What's that? The sun?
The sun
Not
is
the daughter, the sun?
Today they've come out. 4 days. We just heard Karen Rodgers. We've had 4 days of sunshine in January. 4 days. Yeah. This has just been dreadful. But Friday, we will try to be your sunshine here with the John Kincade Show. Come and see us. Go to 975thefanatic.com and get yourself signed up. Did Dan Campbell, the wise leader of the Detroit Lions, summarize one reason that the Eagles failed in 2023 in his post-game speech? We'll see what his message was next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I love the BetParks app. I love the BetParks Sportsbook app because
.com.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. The fourth most watched non-Super Bowl game in history occurred Sunday night between the 49ers and Detroit. 57 million people to watch the Niners in Detroit, dwarfing anything that airs on television. But the fourth biggest game that has not been a Super Bowl in the history of television. 19% up over last year's Eagles 49ers game that aired in the earlier window. 7% over the AFC title game, which aired in the same visual window since they flip night, day game every single year. But again, and Pat, I know you're one of those people who doesn't like the product right now, but people are flocking. This is going to be it's going to end up the most watched NFL playoffs ever.
Cool.
It's
still a bad product.
That's like a movie reviewer saying, "Man, this movie's terrible," and everybody else loves it.
No. What
do you mean?
That's like a movie reviewer saying this movie sucks, but everybody saw it. Just because people are watching it doesn't mean they're enjoying the product. They're just watching it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but
Pat.
it's not like a movie.
Like you can't
they
sit
keep
here and tell
back.
me you can't sit here and tell. Well, yeah, because the movie's changing. Just because people went to go see Fast and the Furious 3, Tokyo Drift, and a lot of people went to go see it, doesn't mean that they went to go see Fast and Furious 4 and 5 and 6 because they thought the one was good. They thought, oh, it might be a blip. There's a new movie coming out. I'll go see that.
So your theory is they keep coming back week after week going, it's going to get better, and
it changes. Every time it changes. The game always changes.
Do you think fans walk away going, man, that sucked? Sunday sucked.
Sunday, no. But that's the thing. The games change. There are games that suck. We've come in and talked about.
Sure.
We talked about weekends that sucked. We talked about games that sucked. We're in the playoffs for Christ's sake. So they should be pretty good. But you can't tell me the last 10 weeks of the NFL season I'd go with where, we would sit there and break the games down and we go, man, it's a bad week of games. Just because there's more McDonald's than anywhere else doesn't mean that the McDonald's now is a better product than the McDonald's that came out in the 50s when there was 4 locations.
But if you had a crappy meal at a McDonald's, you wouldn't keep going back week after week to McDonald's.
Look, we're never going to agree on this. If you want to point to ratings and go, there, it's a great product because we have ratings, great. I don't think so. I think this is the worst product that the NFL has put out in years. Years.
Well, the product is its own entity. Every game is its own entity.
And that's what I'm getting at.
You're going to have good, you're going to have bad. You're going to have legions of fandoms who don't care about the product.
But it's growing.
They don't care. Yeah, there's more people in the world. Everything's going to grow. The play, if you look at the parity, if you look at it overall, we can be honest with each other and say, yeah, it's not as good as it used to be. Down teams are really down. There's not, football isn't as elite as it used to be with the elite teams. We could look at it that way. I look at it as every game is its own entity, and fandom is just growing and growing and growing because that's just the way football is. They're really smart at marketing it. They're really smart at all of it.
So not because they like it?
People like it.
It's growing because people like it. People like it. So that's why
it doesn't mean
growing.
It's a good product because
you guys are talking two different things.
No, I know, but that's what I mean.
It sounds apples and oranges.
No, but that's what it sounds like. A movie reviewer telling you, man, the public just flocks loves this movie, loves these things. But I'm telling you, this is a bad movie.
Yeah. I'll give you plenty of examples. Aquaman made a ton of money, the first one. It was trash. It was dog bleep. That movie was horrible.
I thought the second one looked like a bad preview, too.
Oh, my God.
I didn't want to see that
The second one was so bad it might have been good. You also have to factor in, too, the betting angle is very real. People are I was hanging out with, my fourth cousin yesterday. I felt like you, Kincade. I'm hanging out with, a fourth
cousin?
Second cousin, blah, blah, blah. A kid barely knows sports. And he goes, yeah, I'll bet on the NFL. I'll bet on...
What's he betting on?
I have no idea. I'm like, kid, you got to put your money away. You're in college. I hope you're betting $1 or $2. He'll bet on the NFL, and he'll sit there and watch the game. He flat out told me the only time he'll actually watch any game is if he has money on it. So if you're sitting there and you're on a Sunday and you're like, all right, well, I got nothing else to watch. I'll What NFL game's on? All right, Jacksonville versus Houston. Fine. All right, I'll put $5 on it so I have a rooting interest and I'll keep it on.
Okay, here's the thing I would ask you, though, is that if that's the case, wouldn't we be seeing the NBA and the NHL and other things that you can bet on, too, making substantial jumps in viewership instead of declines?
You've pointed out the jump in viewership from the NHL.
The NHL's had a good, yeah, but it's small, though. It's small, but it's incremental growth. TNT's grown it.
It's a niche.
NHL has become. I remember when it was top 4. I mean, I remember when it was legit top 4. Like, I mean, it would yes, absolutely. When the NHL would be on. Well, first of all, the NHL was on network TV for one thing, and it was on network TV on like weekends. It was on. They're trying to bring that back. ESPN's trying to get that going back with those ABC games.
Listen to what we're talking about, though. It was on network TV. Every sport's on network TV, except for that one. College basketball's on network TV all the time.
Yeah, nobody's watching it now.
You're trying to, like, bring up hockey like, oh, look, see, they're getting on that. Doesn't that sound crazy?
It does. But, like, the college basketball's declined terribly. Like, there used to be – college basketball used to get great TV ratings. People used to flock to it. And you can gamble on that, too. I mean, it's like the gambling angle. Is it just the best gambling angle?
Well,
is it the best gambling sport?
It's the most popular sport.
It's the most popular sport. It has the most options to game. You can gamble on pretty much anything in terms of the NFL.
Player
the NHL,
performances.
Like I've seen some betting apps like take things away that I'm like, why would you take away, the over in points for like a same game parlay, for example? You go to a same game parlay for the NHL and you can't do points. It's like it's either goals or power play points, or it's weird. They've taken some angles away, whereas for the NFL, they've added certain things. They have taken some things away, like sacks. They took away that for same game parlays. But for the most part, you can pretty much bet anything. Catches, longest catch, longest run, rushing attempts, rushing yards, total point. Like, you go on the NBA, and there's a lot of options there too. But you go on the NFL, and it's, I don't know, 20, 25% more?
Liv was saying that in her apartment building on campus, the amount of girls that watch football, college girls that say it's Sunday afternoon, I'm watching football with a bunch of girls, is incredible.
It's like,
but I don't remember that. I don't remember that 20, 25 years ago. I don't remember it being as big. I don't
remember last week, let alone 25 years ago. But it's an event. I mean, that's what NFL Sunday is. It's an event. People build their days around. You don't build your day around an NBA basketball game on Wednesday night. You don't build your day around, a hockey game even if it's an outdoor game on a Saturday afternoon. No, the NFL's an event, and it's always going to be an event. And the more entertaining that event and the surroundings of it become, your viewership's just going to keep going up and up and up and up. I mean, look no further than Buffalo. They're tailgating. That's become like a national story now. And you got players from other teams that want to go there to tailgate with these Buffalo people. Like, it's just, that's the NFL, man. It's not going to stop growing. It's not.
The best line in a football movie in a while was in Concussion, where I don't remember the character, but he says, like, the NFL literally owns a day of the week.
Yeah, now they're branching out, right?
It put it into perspective because of the time when that movie came out. That movie came out in, like, I don't know, whenever Chip Kelly was fired. Well, when it came out, you're like, wow. Well, you thought about it, and you're like, they really do. They own a day of the week. Sundays, NFL, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing from September till February. It's Sunday, and there's football. I mean, they own a day of the week.
Up 19% from last year. That's just huge. That is a huge jump that they never even could have imagined. I think the Detroit story, too, drew a lot of people in.
Yeah.
I said is the idea of the ultimate underdog franchise having a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And they had the lead, which kept people tuned in until they choked it away.
I'll tell you, if it was San Francisco versus, let's say, the Rams, I don't think the ratings would be nearly what it was. But I think so many people wanted to hear... so many people wanted to see Detroit do what they did.
Something different.
I'd also be interested to see the tick up in terms of, like, the time. Because when word started to get out of what Detroit was doing, I wonder if more people were likely to tune in. I went into that game thinking San Francisco was going to absolutely, like, put the wood to them.
I thought they would, too.
And then you're like, wow.
What?
Put the wood to them.
Oh.
I thought it was going to be a beatdown.
7-0, 14-0. Jeez, I mean, they're up 17-0, 20-24, whatever it was. Yeah, so when word trickles out, it's like, man, I got to kind of watch this because it's cool.
The Dan Campbell talked after the game, the coach of the Lions. I wanted you to hear this, and I wanted to see if there's anything we can take out of it that would potentially refer to the Philadelphia Eagles season and what happened with them. Because it's clear Dan Campbell feels there was a anxiety and a depression that was coming over him about that game. And the message that he gave to his players was truly incredible after the game. We're going to let you hear it and have an opportunity to just what he says, I think, can refer exactly to the Eagles season in a way.
Got to get your heart ripped out, which we did. And it's a lesson learned. And look, I told those guys, this may have been our only shot. Do I think that? No. However, I know how hard it is to get here. I'm well aware. And it's going to be twice as hard to get back to this point next year than it was this year. That's the reality. And if we don't have the same hunger and the same work, which is a whole nother thing, once we get the offseason, then we got no shot of getting back here. I don't care how much better we get or what we add or what we drive. It's irrelevant. It's going to be tough. Everybody in our division is going to be loaded back up. You're not hiding from anybody anymore. Everybody's going to want a piece of you, which is fine. So it's hard. You want to make the most of every opportunity. And we had an opportunity, and we just couldn't close it out.
I think of the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles losing in the Super Bowl. And I listened to Dan Campbell talk about next year is going to be twice as tough just to get back to where we are in the title game. And because no matter what kind of talent we add, no matter how much better we are, we can't hide from anybody. We have to have the same hunger. We have to have the same work ethic. And I think he summarized why the Philadelphia Eagles failed.
Like I said yesterday, a drunk doesn't get a hangover because they stay drunk, right? The Chiefs are a team that's just drunk on getting to the Super Bowl. Look how hard it is to do. One team can do it. One.
Over and over.
Yeah, so he's exactly right. Sometimes you don't want honesty to come right out there and hit you in the face. I like that Campbell did that. I like that he said it, and it's true. It's true for every team that probably made the playoffs. You know, you got to a spot that is really hard to get to. To assume you're going to get there again isn't something you can do. And others have a lot of say in whether it's going to happen for you or not. That's a good catch by you, John. I heard him say that yesterday, but equating it to where the Eagles are also,
I just think it's summarized this year, didn't it? He talks about the fact that no matter how much better you think you are, no matter how you think you're just going to get back, and the one thing he said, too, about you can't hide anywhere.
No.
The 2022 Eagles snuck up on people. After that playoff loss in Tampa Bay, nobody really was expecting the Eagles to be a Super Bowl team last year. They snuck up on people. And then once they're the targeted team, when they had the target on their back, they didn't respond nearly as well. When he talks about the hunger and the work ethic, though, that makes me question that because they look listless. And I, by the way, I don't clear the veterans in this either. And I think the veterans on this team got a free freaking pass down the stretch. I think they did.
Nope. Everybody gets pointed at on this. Everybody.
They should, and they should be.
Who said veterans like, oh, they're okay?
Well, when you hear about what like the breakdowns on this team, I wasn't hearing about the offensive line playing like crap. They played like crap. The last games of the year, they weren't good.
Nobody was.
I understand.
Nobody was. I don't think anybody. We said it the last 7 weeks. Get 1,000 people to point 10 fingers at anybody you want in that organization, and everybody's right. And I'm not kidding when I say everybody's right. Maybe we can tell Jake Elliott to go over to the other side and Rick
tell him
Lovato.
to go over there.
Yeah, and you guys can stand over there. Everybody else is under scrutiny for sucking the last 7 weeks of the season. They just are. Everybody. There was not one bright spot in the last 7 weeks of the season. None.
Nothing at all.
No.
Nothing at all. And there was listlessness. There was lack of energy. And that was a great, I'll tell you this, is he can be very WWE-ish. But Dan Campbell, that was extremely eloquent. But I can't imagine going into your team and telling them, look, you got a really hard chance to get back here next year.
Well, it shows a really good relationship, I think, between coach and players. That you're like, look, I'm being honest with you. I was a player in this league. You guys have been around this league, but you've never been in this spot before. I've seen a lot of people. Maybe I was there before also. It is really hard to get back. I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm going to let you know now instead of in May because I want you to sit on this. You're going to have to work even harder just to try to get back to this spot, let alone advance further than you did. I love that. I love that in a coach. It's honest. It hurts. It probably puts, like you're putting salt on a wound, but you know what? It's the truth. It's the reality, and that's how Dan Campbell lives. I didn't mind his message at all.
How many of those guys, Pat, in that locker room, though, are hearing Dan Campbell deliver that message and going, yeah, thanks, Coach. We're here because of your stupid decision.
Yeah, there's that, too.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Thanks.
I'm absolutely.
We blew it? We blew it, Coach, or you blew it?
The elephant in the room. I don't know if that necessarily, like, what he said the message was the message. I'd be interested to see the video, if there is video, and I'm sure there is, because, as you said, John, it's kind of hard to believe. You go in and you go, guys, I know you just blew that game. This is good. It's good, and you got to have this happen. Like, I think there's a version of that he said, but I'm sure there was it was curtailed for the media a little bit. I think there's some artistic liberty with what he told the media. He said,
to me, I can only imagine the guys in there going, yeah, Coach. If they had the thought bubbles above their head, yeah, Coach. If you kicked a field goal in the freaking third quarter, we might not have lost the game. At least we would have gone to overtime. Thanks, Coach, for your ultra-aggressiveness. Bill joins us on The Fanatic. Bill, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Hey, listen, you couldn't be more right about the NFL and how it's its own entity. I graduated in 89, and I played high school football. We used to play on Sundays, the Catholic League.
Yeah, Sundays at 1.
Sundays at 1. They changed the games because of the NFL, because the popularity was becoming so big in the late 80s and the early 90s that nobody was showing up to games and correspond with Sunday church. It was a day. You get up, you go to church, then go and watch the football. So like Pat was saying, it becomes its own day. It actually took a day away from God in a sense, because then they started doing Saturday night vigils, so people would come to mass.
Well, we were the only archdiocese I know here that we were one of the last archdioceses to have Saturday mass.
Correct.
So that was, it was keeping not worried about Sunday being the holy day. It was football.
Correct. So that's just stick that in your mind. How big the game had become and taken away a day from quote unquote God and just changing that day into that only day. So that is the biggest thing about how the Shield has become so big that it took over a complete day.
I wonder too if it's. I appreciate your call, Bill. We've seen the NBA grow in popularity. It doesn't have the. I believe the NBA has moved ahead of baseball. I have people argue that with me that don't believe that. I sort of feel like the NBA is ahead of baseball. If you're talking
what?
About popularity, like overall popularity. I can tell you with younger people, NBA clearly, and the numbers show it, marketing numbers show it and everything, younger people love the NBA. And they're very, very attracted to it. I remember, like, Bob, we're old enough to remember when baseball was the national pastime. When baseball was number one. And there was nobody would have thought, I wouldn't have thought as a kid that somebody was going to eclipse baseball. I
never thought of it that way. I never look at, I'm not a huge ratings guy and all that stuff, who's watching most. I know, even since I was little, that Sunday was an event. It was the day. That was it. You went to church early and ran home so you were home in time for the 1 o'clock game, to sit and watch TV all day. Football all day long. Yeah.
Back then.
Like, baseball, when I was a kid, no, you didn't get to see all the games. You rarely saw out of the local area teams play.
Saturday afternoon and then Monday night during the summer, remember?
Yeah, a little bit of Monday night baseball, but
that was only in the summer.
Yeah, so I always remember football being number one. I don't, like I said, I don't follow numbers of ratings and all that, but as far as popularity, yeah, like all right, having my friends over on my high school team to watch Eagles Cowboys. I wasn't having them over to watch Phillies Braves. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
it was an event, and that's, when I was 17, 16 years old. So football to me has always been the event, the popular game, the most popular game.
It is a juggernaut, as they say. And Dan Campbell, thank you for the insight on our 2023 Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe we can learn a little bit about where they're going in the future from that. They're going to have to clean. They're going to clean a lot of that up. Bob and Pat have sort of conflicting opinions, I believe, on this year's upcoming Super Bowl matchup. And a lot of people have a lot of voice about it. We'll get to it coming up next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, happy Super
Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Sixers lost last night. You heard it here in The Fanatic. They'll try to bounce back tonight against the Golden State Warriors. Question will be, who will be available at that point for the Sixers tonight? Bob, I know you and Haley were just having a discussion for social a little bit about how concerned should people be? Because now you've found yourself, and I know you'll say, hey, John, there's 37 games left. Plenty of time.
No, well, there is, yeah, for different things of that. But how bad is this knee? Yeah, it's a real question now. Instead of it just being, sore knee, he's going to miss a couple of days. He missed another game. It's the West Coast. Well, how bad is this knee? You know, it's my number one question. It's what I want to dive into. Like, what is going on here? And this is the second time. I don't know if it's the same knee. I know he had a knee-on-knee before, and he said his knee's been hurting. Like, all right, where are we?
You saw the video, and I didn't see it on the television broadcast of the Indiana game, where Joel, during a timeout, there was video circulating yesterday on social media where he was literally like bent over, squeezing his knees. The trainers came out. He talked about it, and then he stayed in the game.
He's done that a few times. Like he's like bumped knees or something, or he's going down and he's kind of squeezed his knee a little bit. And I feel like it's been lingering for a while. I'm personally worried it's going to end up resulting in a small scope surgery. We went in there, cleaned stuff out. He's out for 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll reassess. Because with the Sixers, the two or three week reassessment, I have PTSD from because I saw it with the Markelle Fultz, and Bobby, I know you know that, like the Markelle Fultz thing. It was every email that came out. Here's an update. We found something that might explain it. We'll reassess in 2 to 3 weeks, and then it would be the same thing with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid would have an injury. He broke his face. We'll reassess in 2 to 3 weeks, and then Ben Simmons would have something. Reassess in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
Like the email from the PR department. There's nothing they can do about it, but the reassessment in 2 to 3 weeks. I mean,
dread that.
I wake up with like the shakes and like I'm a cold sweat. No, not 2 to 3 weeks.
It's not good. Yeah, it's not good when you're hearing that. If there is something, though, wouldn't they want to get on it sooner than later? Because we got an all-star break coming up. Because I don't need him. I'll tell you this. And Bob, yes, and it's going to sound like too much. But if he's missing regular season games and having to be out for this, I don't want to see what we saw last year. And then see, all-star game, though. He's ready to go, and he's ready to play in the all-star game and go on out there and play 26 minutes in the all-star game. I don't want to see that at all. If you're missing regular season games and this knee issue is something that potentially can derail the Sixers, to hell with the all-star game. Like, worry about, like, the regular season has to be what matters, especially, and we're less than 2 weeks out from the all-star game.
Yeah, I can't imagine they would force-feed that. If he's dealing with something to say, yeah, but it's okay. He's going to go to All-Star Weekend.
Remember, they did last year, though. They made him play.
Was it last year or 2 years ago?
They made him play last year.
Well, they didn't make him. He wanted to, probably. And maybe Joel Embiid's in a different spot now. He's got the MVP under his belt. He knows that health is far more important than anything. I don't know, but I really want a little bit of a dive in. All right, what's going on with this knee? And if we hear meniscus, which you could probably always find, and I'm with Pat on this one. Like, missing a game or two here and there. Okay, he's getting to the 12 he's missed so far. But if it starts to be 6, 7, 8, and then you hear what Pat said about an email saying we'll reevaluate UGG. His last game was January 22nd. First game back after the All-Star game is February 22nd. There's a month there. Is that what we're looking at? I don't know.
I hope not.
Maybe it's as simple as he's going to be out there tonight. So we'll see.
Yeah, we're going to find out a little bit later on. We usually find out like late afternoon. Yesterday, the word came out. The word came out pretty early that he wasn't going to go. Anything on Maxi's ankle, or is it just
today? Will come out a little later because there's no shoot around.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no shoot around. They traveled last night, went down to San Fran. So there's no shoot around today. So the media won't be around. So we probably won't find out until late afternoon. what's going on with him. Maxey, yeah, turned ankle. You described it perfectly, John. Sometimes it just doesn't get better quick enough, and it's ankles. I can't
Oh, my
stand
gosh.
it. They suck.
I honestly, though, I had a high ankle sprain once. I had a broken ankle, and the broken ankle didn't cause me nearly the pain because it was, it's immobilized and it's fixed, and they fix it up, and you get on your way. It didn't have the pain that the sprained ankle's terrible. I think it's one of the worst.
It's just every time you think you're ready to go, it hinders you a little bit, and cutting is hard. And I don't know the severity of his sprained ankle. But, yeah, it's a tough time. You West Coast trip, which aren't fun to begin with, and then you're missing your two best players, and your third, in Tobias Harris, is dealing with the flu. And last night looked like a guy that just rolled out of a flu-ridden bed.
The flu, right.
He just didn't seem to have it at all last night. So, one of these down times, losing 3 in a row after having won 6 in a row. So you just got to carry through and hopefully get healthy while you're out there.
And more importantly, too, is it does matter is like, a bump. If you did without Joel Embiid for 2 or 3 weeks, I think it's going to throw away home court in the first round of a playoff series. Right now, you're in a 3-way tie pretty much for third place, where you've let the Cavs and the Knicks come in on you, and the Knicks have put together a nice little club. And reportedly, they're not done shopping yet as far as they could be a threat there. And who knows what Milwaukee's going to be. Doc had his debut last night, lost his debut with the Milwaukee Bucks. But who knows what they're going to be. That could be a team, and that could be a team that ends up going a little slightly south and then regroups in time for the postseason. But a lot of people will doubt what Doc will get out of them in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, everybody goes through these things. And then usually the standings wind up pretty much where you thought they were going to be. I mean, look at Miami. You were talking the other day about Miami. Oh, man, that's not a team you want in the second round or whatever
They were in the 6th seed the other day.
They've lost 7 in a row.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Look at the Clippers. Harden goes out there and everybody's like, oh, yeah, they suck. There's no way the three of them are going to be able to. They're 22-5 over their last 27. It's an 82-game season, and as much as it's boring to say, yeah, it's the ebbs and flows, that's the way it goes. Well, you just got to keep an eye on that. Are the peaks really good, and are the valleys really bad, or is it somewhere in between?
And the ebbs and flows, though, injury can really make the ebb a problem. It can be a big issue. So
yeah,
we'll be all over, and you'll hear it right here on your home for the Sixers, 97.5, The Fanatic. Our 7 a.m. hour is brought to you by the BetPark Sportsbook app, which coincidentally is the official winning partner of your Philadelphia 76ers. And with the Sixers in action tonight against Golden State, maybe you want to put a little action on it. Maybe Pat's fourth cousin wants to put a little action on the Sixers tonight.
I'll try to get to the bottom of that.
He can download the BetParks app today and get involved with it.
I'm actually, now that talking to him, I was very relieved that there wasn't legalized sports gambling when I was in college.
I know. I
would have been losing some. I didn't have much money in college anyway, but I would have been losing some cash.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't need to worry about I had the connections back in the day to be able to do the illegal version of it.
Well, luckily I did not, because
I was related to some of it, so it was pretty easy.
Super fresh didn't pay that well, and I needed every dime I could get.
They have a back parking lot.
I've heard. I've heard that rumor.
Yeah, well, there is a Super Bowl matchup, and social media has been abuzz with it. And I think, I believe it appears from commentary from Bob and Pat in pre-show notes that you guys may either, I don't know if you agree or disagree on this Super Bowl matchup. And Pat, I want you to set up yours first, and then hear where Bob's thinking on this matchup between the Chiefs and the 49ers. You seem sort of out on it as far as the matchup.
I think this is the worst matchup in a long time in terms of drama, storyline, what have you. The storylines that the NFL will run with, like ESPN and the NFL Network, and they have just been killed. They've completely beaten a dead horse with the Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant thing. We all know at this point, and they're going to talk about it ad nauseum. And then it's going to be the Taylor Swift angle, and that's going to be to death. And it's going to be, where does this cement the Chiefs if they win? And then it's going to be Kyle Shanahan blowing the 28-3 lead.
Yes.
It's like you already know the narratives going in, and it doesn't take away from the fact that neither of these two teams are very likable. And it leaves you, at least me, and being an Eagles fan who lives in Philly, going like, can they both lose? Is there a way they both can lose? I guess I'm cheering for Kansas City because I like Andy, but I don't want to think about Taylor Swift celebrating on with Travis on the sidelines, and that's exactly what's going to happen if the clock hits 0 and they're winning. So I'm trying to think of like the worst matchup that I can, and this might be it in a long time.
There's no rootable matchup for me. There's neither. I can't root for either team.
Normally, you can figure out something, right? I mean, it's like a dynasty going up against an upstart. So like Patriots and Falcons is a good example of that, where we've seen the Patriots win a ton. All right, I'll cheer for the Falcons because I just want to see something different. I'm having trouble thinking of a matchup where I liked less than this current one, and maybe it's a little revisionist history, recency bias, but I'm having trouble.
I'm sort of with Pat on this one, Bob. Is that I can't find I have to have a rooting interest when I'm watching something. I have to root for one team to win.
I'm exactly the opposite.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm going to watch the game. I think you have the two best teams in the NFL playing right now. That, to me, that's cool. Like, I think it's going to be a really good football game between, you have a quarterback that many are prematurely labeling, he's the best ever. He's got some time before he's there. You brought up the angle of Purdy and all that is. Look, these two teams have won the most playoff games out of anybody this year. So they've been in the spotlight more than anybody this year. There aren't many storylines that haven't already been told because they've been the national game 3 times in the playoffs or whatever it is. They've been one of the best teams in the league all year long. Pat, you're right. There's no more storylines. And if you're a writer on any of this stuff, that's why when – if you're a TV guy, you're doing most of your stories about Detroit when they're playing San Fran because they're probably not going to be there the next week.
Yeah,
too.
And you're saving those stories because you have another 2 weeks of San Francisco. So storylines. Yes, have they all been played out? Sure, but that's because these teams have been there and around these playoffs more than anybody else. I'm just looking at it like I honestly do. I think this is going to be a good football game. I like all the weapons that San Fran has on offense. The Purdy story is fun. The Kansas City defense is playing really well, so it kind of, I don't want to take the limelight away from Mahomes, but it's probably the better X and O story of the Chiefs this year. I'm just looking forward to a really good game, and I think we're going to get one out of these two teams.
I think we'll get a good game. And
I think we're going to get a good game.
I think everything, Bob, you said is correct. I just don't want to see either of these two teams win. Like, they're just so unlikable to me, both of them. The last time I could think of a game where I wanted to watch less than this would probably be, and it's one of the best Super Bowls of all time, Giants, Patriots, where the Giants ended up, the miracle catch.
Was it Indianapolis, the second one?
The first
or
one.
Or the Arizona? That was
if you want to go with the second one.
That was 2008, I believe.
Thinking of the first one where it was like, that was the first Super Bowl in my lifetime when I don't want to watch either of these two teams.
What was the undefeated Patriots?
Yeah, exactly. Didn't want to see them go undefeated. Didn't want to see the Giants win. But it ends up being the one of the best Super Bowls of all time. And, I watched the whole thing. I'm not saying I won't watch it. I obviously will watch it. But it is weird not having a rooting interest whatsoever in a game.
I can't root for either one of them. And that is a bother to me, and it's where we're very different. I watch a game and I go, okay, who do I want to see win? Like, I found myself I was really rooting for Buffalo to beat Kansas City.
So we're not that far off. I go into a game saying, what do I want to see? Or what am I going to see? Or how does this storyline play out? I go in with a blank slate. Like, I don't need to have a rooting interest.
Yeah,
I like the sport of football. I like competition. I like, all the sports. I really don't. And I'm not doing this to be contrary.
No.
I just don't go into a game saying, like, last night I watched the women's basketball game because there wasn't much on. And I don't have a rooting interest. I'm looking to see good basketball. I didn't see it last night. The game sucked, I thought. But I can watch games without rooting interest because I like that. I don't have to root.
Well, is it because of the fact too, though? Is it and Pat? It's something we talk about with Bob all the time. Your former career maybe lent to that, where that's became the prism with which you watch sports. I'm not here to root for a team. I'm here to tell a story. I'm here to tell the story of it. I'm here to bring that story to my readers.
Yeah, maybe. But I told you the story about when I was, in high school and watching a football game, Dallas and the Eagles, and my friends were all over, and they were living and dying with every play, and it hit me like a stone in the head. It was
who was throwing stones at you?
What difference does it make who win? Yes, I want the Eagles to win, but how does it really affect my life moving forward? And I told you this story. My girlfriend's still going to be mad at me because I'm not watching the game with her. I'm watching it with my friends. We didn't have basketball practice today because Coach gave us off. So he's going to run us to death tomorrow because that's what our coach did in high school if we didn't have practice the day before. All of those things, I'm still going to fail my geometry test because I didn't study because I'm watching the Eagles game. Like all of those things, Eagles winning and losing didn't really affect me. Now, it didn't turn me off to being a fan or a rooter or whatever. Later in life, I had to because that was my job. But, yeah, I just kind of look at it more evenly than most, I would say. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I probably miss out on a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, because when you say that, every time you say it, I go like, in a way, I feel bad for you.
I do, too.
In a big way, I'm envious of you.
Don't.
No. In a big way, I'm very envious of the fact that you can separate the fandom from just being able to like watch a game and not sit there and go, these two teams are unlikable and it's a turnoff. But in the other way, I go, man, like when the team ends up winning, I feel like you don't enjoy it as much
because of that view.
Yeah, you want to hang out with me when teams win? I bet I enjoy it just as much as anybody.
I do hang out with you, but I mean,
the Andy angle.
How did you forget? We hang out all the time.
I'm tired of the Andy angle. And people saying, well, you got to feel good for Andy. I felt good for Andy the year after the Eagles won the Super Bowl and he won. And at that point, Andy winning anymore, I'm not sitting there, man. I really feel good for Andy Reid winning this.
It's the only angle I can find that I will root for because I do want Andy to go down as I would love Andy to go down as the greatest of all time. I always felt Belichick was. I don't like him, but I like Andy. So I mean, but his team itself, I find extremely annoying. Yeah, they're up there as one of the most annoying. And we broke it down yesterday. A very annoying team. But I can't find anything to cheer with San Fran.
So wait, do you guys have to watch a game with a rooting interest?
Yes.
Like you can't. If it's Sunday afternoon, Eagles play at 1. 4:00 game is, I don't know, the Panthers and somebody else. I watch the game to watch football. You have to have a rooting interest in order to watch it.
See, here's the difference. Here's the difference. Pat, I thought you were more like me with this. If the Eagles have already played and it's the 4:00, unless it's unless it's Cowboys Giants or Cowboys something where I need to watch it, I'm watching Red Zone and bouncing around from game to game to game. Because if I don't have a rooting interest in a game, it loses my interest.
So I think that a lot of people will say what Bob is saying out loud.
I don't.
No, hear me out.
Okay.
I think they'll say what you're saying, and I think they'll sit there and want to be a football guy and go, "Oh, I'll watch any game," blah blah blah. And you actually will. Like I've witnessed it. You actually will. And I think people will say that, and deep down they need something. They either need a betting angle, they need a fantasy angle, or they need a rooting interest. And if they don't have that, they're probably not watching. Like Thursday Night Football comes around, and we will talk ourselves into watching it, not because it's a football game, because we know it's going to be a bad product, because the Thursday night games are usually a bad product. We'll talk ourselves in because we go, all right, I got this fantasy wide receiver, I'll watch because of that. All right, I made a $20 bet, and that's you talk yourself and convince yourself into watching it because you have stake in the game. But in terms of like watching a random game between Seattle and Jacksonville, I mean, that's not a good example because those two teams are good. But Arizona and the Giants, no, I can't just watch that game. That's a gross game. I need some stake in the game, and I think that's a quiet thing that nobody really likes to say out loud because they don't want to come off as not a football guy.
Yeah, see, I don't care if people think I'm a football, basketball, baseball.
You're a football guy. You're a sportsman.
No, but I'll give it a chance. I'll give any game a chance until it's not. You're right, Pat. Until it's not good. Like last night. Like I said, there wasn't much on last night before this, so I watched a women's college game, which I thought was going to be a good game, two really good teams. The game sucked. Like both teams, in my opinion, didn't play well. I turned it off. I started watching Yellowstone.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I give every game a chance. I don't have to have a rooting interest or anything like that. This is
we're
why I
different
want to
people.
write a book on this, John. The different ways people view sports. And you can break it down to an exact game. Is your son playing? Am I the coach? Are you a referee? All three of us are watching the game differently, right? Overall, you turn on any game. You need to have a rooting interest. I don't. None of it's wrong. And none of it's right. It's just the way it is. And that's what I love about sports.
Hearing Kylie Kelce in the documentary that you probably still have not watched, but you're watching women's basketball. You still have not watched that Kelce documentary?
I know I haven't.
Would you please watch it?
Yeah, I'll get it.
There's so many sports docs I could give you that are going to be more entertaining than a random, University of Tennessee versus.
It was LSU, Mississippi State last night.
But Kylie Kelce's whole thing of, if Jason ended up playing for another team, I would wear something with Kelce on it, but I would never wear another team's colors in the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's called loyalty.
I feel the
some
same
girl
way.
from Reading doesn't understand.
I feel the same way. I was gifted. I was gifted jerseys on my departure from Atlanta from the franchises, saying thank you, good to see everything. I'll never wear them, and I'll never display them. I just it's a wonderful gift and a wonderful gesture. I'm never wearing them, and I'm never displaying them. It's just how I have that same feeling about I can't wear. Like, I know people who wear baseball caps for fashion. Like, as far as the sports fandom. Oh, I'm a big Phillies fan, but I like this Raiders hat because it goes with my outfit. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? First of all, men don't wear outfits. Second of all, the idea of that. I'm going to wear another team's logo. I'll never wear another team's gear. Just won't do it.
Can't lost me on matching things.
Can't have it. Hey, Rick in Easton, I want to get you in here quickly. Rick, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Good morning, gentlemen. There's a reason why you don't want to see either one of these two teams win. It's because we're Philadelphia. Guys, I don't care. You say you can't compare eras. For 70, 80 years, Philadelphia gets the short end of the stick with rings and championships. The probability of winning a championship is 70 years, 80 years times 4 sports is 320 rings. We have 7. Guys, here's the problem. Kansas City has 2 sports franchises. San Francisco, 2 sports franchises. These cities don't even have 4 franchises. And once again, we're embarrassed. You say you can't compare Babe Ruth to Michael Trout. But if you look at the one consistent thing in sports, we're supposed to be the most knowledgeable and we are the most passionate fans. These owners should kiss our butts for the billions of dollars this city has spent on their franchises without rings. We have to watch Buffalo succeed with an ex-Eagles coach. We have to watch the Kansas City Chiefs win with an ex-Eagles coach.
Buffalo hasn't succeeded more than the Eagles.
Wait a minute. But who looks better right now, the last 4 seasons, Buffalo or
The Eagles.
Philadelphia?
The Eagles have been to a Super Bowl. Come on, Rick. Don't give me Buffalo.
No idea what he was talking
Don't give me Buffalo. Don't give me Buffalo. He's saying you can't
lose me
enjoy
on
the.
that.
Well, I think someone would maybe say
We're jealous of Buffalo. They are the Sixers of
Seriously.
the NFL. They can't get over the hump. I ain't jealous of Buffalo.
The Eagles have been. I'll take being an Eagles fan over a Buffalo fan any day. They've had heartache. Hey, a lot of people want to get in this. 610-632-0975. Pat and Bob look at this Super Bowl differently. We all have different ideas about it, rooting interest. We want to hear from you. 610-632-0975. We'll get to Eddie and Eric and more. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic.
Cade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Some spirited discussion this morning regarding fandom, how you root, do you root, how are you watching this Super Bowl matchup? John Kincade Show on The Fanatic. And we have very different ideas about how we look at games, how we watch games. And I could root against San Francisco, which is why I will probably end up rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs. But there are some storylines that are already tired to me. The Andy storyline around here is tiring to me. The Mr. Irrelevant story is that Kyle Shanahan is somehow getting credit for doing this. And Pat, as you so eloquently brought up, this is the man who traded up and went out of his way to go get Trey Lance up in the draft. He didn't he stumbled into Brock Purdy. He didn't. It isn't something where he said, "Man, I see something in Brock Purdy no other team in the NFL sees." Yeah. He stumbled into it.
I mean, I'd love to be if they had video, which if they did, they would have put it out. But if they had video of Kyle Shanahan standing on the table saying, "We need to take this Purdy kid. I see greatness in him," they haven't put the video out, which means that's not what happened.
Correct.
It means that he okayed it because it was the last pick in the draft and whatever.
We need a body. They needed a body.
Yeah. I mean, the Rams put out video of the GM, the director of player personnel, and Sean McVay all talking about this 5th-round pick at a BYU that they were positive could be an impact player for them that year. And, the tape wasn't great, but, his combine number, something like that. The player's Puka Nacua.
Correct.
They put it out there because it makes their coaching staff and their player personnel people look like geniuses because they hit on a 5th-round pick. If those videos are out there, rest assured, the social media department will put them out there. So the fact that everything's been made about, Mr. Irrelevant, and it is a great story, and I'm looking forward to
him, yes.
Yeah, to Zachary Levi playing him in a bad movie one day, a la Kurt Warner. But that video doesn't exist because, as you said, they needed a body. They just needed a camp arm. And they thought, all right, well, he's the best arm available, and we don't know if we can get him as an undrafted free agent, so we'll take him. And it worked out. It worked out for him. But, yeah, they traded up for Trey Lance. I wouldn't consider it an RG3 Kirk Cousins situation because that was different. That's 4th round, but it's not all that far off. They drafted him as a backup.
It's like the Brady.
But you have to give him credit. Sorry, John.
You do. You have to give him credit for identifying him and taking him and all that.
And growing him after he's forced into that position.
Sure.
But it's like, well, you didn't envision this. You didn't see that in him. If you did, you wanted to wait until that round to take him.
Bill Belichick, you can just go, if you can watch the Brady story. He did not even, when they drafted Tom Brady, he didn't even find it relevant enough to talk about him at the post-draft press conferences. To say, yeah, this Tom Brady kid, man, watch this. He's a crown jewel we got in the 6th round, that 199th pick. Even in the press conferences, he didn't even feel the need to discuss it. It wasn't something, but you get credit for, man, they were so forward-thinking. It's one of those ones that's crazy. We got a lot of people jumping on in about this Super Bowl matchup. Eddie in Kensington. Eddie, thanks for holding on, buddy. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Good morning, guys. Memory of a goldfish, huh, Pat?
Keep swimming.
That's right. Ted Lasso style.
Keep swimming.
Listen, these are the types of Super Bowls I drop a small mortgage payment on block pools with because I could care who wins or who goes where as long as one of my blocks hit. But I can tell you I am worried. I think our boy Kelce is seeing a lot of happiness in his brother's face these days. And if they win another one, does Jason go chasing one over with Andy and his brother in Kansas City? And does he tarnish his legacy, or do we give him a pass because it's one last year with his brother and his old coach? And
that would be the that'd be the heel turn of heel turns. He's never doing that.
He's got rustling blood in his veins, though. Couldn't you see him doing? I mean, the documentary was awesome, and it makes me think he wouldn't. But at the same time, they're building their platform. They're all about their brand now and trying to, pivot and make money.
He's building a gigantic family compound over in Havertown. He's
it's
not.
1 year, John.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I do. That would be the ultimate heel turn. If he chased a ring, thank you, Eddie. If he chased a ring in Kansas City.
Yeah, he's already won one. I think if the documentary gave me the impression that Kylie has a lot to do with the decision making. Like
Good
in
for
many
her,
in
yes.
many households, the
Yes.
wife has to okay a lot of decisions. And I'm not saying she is the be all end all, but I think she's going to have to give her papal blessing, if you will, if he decides to go back and play. And there ain't no way she's giving a papal blessing to go.
You're going to be
Kansas
away
City.
from your family.
Yeah,
I don't think she's moving.
No, I don't either.
I'd be
Yeah.
shocked at that.
I would be a little shocked at that too. Hey, it's okay if your brother gets the limelight. Those two, you can tell they like each other an awful lot. It's probably pretty cool to watch your brother get the limelight, and you don't want to take anything away from that. I shouldn't say that. I don't. From how I perceive Jason Kelce, I don't think he would want to take anything away from his brother.
And he made clear the other night to the Inquirer that he wants to be involved. He doesn't want to leave the Philadelphia Eagles organization. He wants to be a part of it. Now, I've heard rumblings that any job would be pretty much open to him as far as what he's interested in doing. I wouldn't be shocked, especially with his New Heights podcast and everything, and wanting to be more of a, as he's talked about, being more of a homebody, being more of a dad. If when Mike Quick retired, Jason Kelce was doing the Eagles games on the radio, and then he'd still be able to do his podcast, and he'd still be centered in Philadelphia, and there'd be a lot less travel, a lot less things like that. But I guarantee you this, the networks are already hounding him. The networks are already putting the feelers out on Jason Kelce. Are you really retired? Do you want a studio job on Sundays? Do you want a color analyst job? Do you want to do something like that? I don't know if that's in his cards. I think he'd be great at it. I think he'd be fun and colorful at it.
Yeah,
He could be a new John Madden. He could be like a new John Madden type.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
could
there's
do
a
that.
lot of guys in waiting because we see former athletes popping up all the time.
Sure.
And now Tom Brady supposedly is taking over for Greg Olson,
Which I think is terrible.
and some people love Greg Olson. I'm not that big of a fan, but that's fine. There just seems to always be athletes in waiting when it comes to. And you know who I saw the other night? I guess it was last night. I was switching around, and I don't know if it was NBA TV or whatever, but a little off topic. But Lou Williams was doing some analyst work in studio on, I don't know what it was. He's
well,
really
you know he's
good.
colorful.
Oh,
He's
I
a colorful
he's
character.
He was one of
He's
the favorite
funny.
guys I covered. I love Lou Williams.
Does he
but
do
he
it
was
with
really
Stadium?
good. I don't know what it was, Pat, and I apologize.
I want to
was
say it's
switching
Stadium
around.
because I've seen it with Sham. It was Shams, Sharnia on the.
No, it wasn't Shams. It was a lady and another guy, and I didn't recognize either. But anyway, getting off track here. There probably are so many athletes that would be really good at it, have a little personality and all. Like Tom Brady, I was surprised. Obviously, you're going to go after one of the greatest minds in football to be an analyst on TV. But his personality doesn't lend you to oh, man, I can't wait to listen to him.
I've never found Tom Brady interesting. I found Tom Brady to be an amazing quarterback. And I absolutely, respect and admire all his accomplishments. But Tom Brady is just, as far as interesting.
Yeah, but maybe he'll be great. I don't know. Maybe he'll be absolutely phenomenal on those. I don't know. Like I said, I still like Romo. I'm not that big of a fan of Greg Olson. I just think he talks too much. But again, I'm a guy that doesn't put a whole lot of stock into the announcers either.
They did it with they did the same thing when Joe Montana retired. NBC fell all over themselves, won the bidding war to get Joe Montana in and he was horrendous.
Well,
then they had to try him in studio to see if he would be better, and he was more horrendous.
Well, they were talking yesterday. I heard about Belichick becoming an analyst, and I thought that would be an unmitigated disaster if you put Bill Belichick in front of a camera. Well, I think it's really, really good to the Chiefs. So
it's pretty good, Pat.
That's not bad.
Get out there and they shut him down.
So you don't think there's a different gear to him?
No, they're
okay.
72 years old. He's finding another gear.
Tell me,
the only way to find another gear at 72 is going to BlueChew.com and enter promo code Fanatic. That's the only way to find another gear. But he's not finding another gear. He would be so checked out and mailing it in that I don't think he has the. I don't think he has a personality to be a good analyst.
Same age, and I'm going to tell you this: same exact age. Nick Saban, I believe is fantastically funny, great interview. And now when he's doing a press conference, he's not. Sitting down and talking football with Nick Saban, he's freaking fantastic. I don't know that with Belichick. I don't know Belichick.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like,
but I've had the pleasure of talking football with Saban, and he is fantastic.
You've seen it firsthand with Saban, and you've seen glimpses of at least a personality with Saban. We've literally never seen it with Belichick.
Belichick's so boring.
He just mumbles through everything.
Hey,
and, Chiefs are going to be on the next one.
Hey, Eric's joining us. Eric, good morning. You're on The Fanatic.
Good morning, guys. Just want to let you know there's nobody, no group better talking sports than you guys. I love you guys.
Thank you, buddy. We appreciate you.
All right, so I'm a Jets fan. I live in Jersey now, and it's unfortunate that I'm a Jets fan, but I didn't call to talk about that, of course. But they had Super Bowls. Giants versus Patriots for me twice. And I don't want to say this is up there for me as a Jets fan, but I need a rootable interest as well. But I'm going to be gambling on this game, much my wife's unhappiness. There's not going to be a prop bet that my paycheck doesn't go towards. So I'm wondering why you guys are avid gamblers, or at least gamblers a little bit, how come you're not focusing on just more of the gambling aspect? That's what's going to get me through.
That's what's going to – look, I'm going to –
have a great day,
I'll
guys.
definitely do it. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, that doesn't rule how I watch a game, though. Gambling is secondary to me. Like, I like doing it, and as I told you before, my wife has our app on her phone so that I don't get too carried away with it. And I'm just being honest. So, we'll go for Sunday's game, for the Super Bowl. We'll sit down and I'll be like, all right, I like this, that, and the other. She'll pick a couple things. We'll throw it in. We'll probably do a same-game parlay, and that's cool. But that doesn't rule my day. That's a secondary thing for me. And again, just the way I look at it, I don't put down people that their primary reason for watching is because of betting. That's fine, too.
Sure.
I don't care how it fascinates me the different ways people, why and how they watch games. I think I'm almost obsessed with it.
Now, it's weird that you say the way you say it is, because Tony sends an email in. He goes, John, love the show. Listen every day. He goes, but I got to ask you, are you 12? You need a rooting interest when you're watching sports? Can't you just watch sports to enjoy it? And Pat, I think this is I'm a football guy, man.
Yeah,
I just love X. And then Tony, I'm trying not to give you too much crap, but no, I get it. Is that you're a football guy. I enjoy football in any way, shape, or form. I could watch any team, even Division III games.
That's cool.
Well,
man.
that's different. I can't.
That's okay.
I can't. Yeah. If I see a Division III game, I go, okay, what's on something else? I follow along. I can't watch any game. It's got to have some interest to me.
I was talking to Bob during the break about this. I can't watch any game. Like, I can't. I'm not watching high school basketball and Division III, and I'm not watching college Quidditch. I just can't do it. But I'm weird in the sense of if it's a movie about sports or a documentary about sports, I'll pretty much watch anything, and it doesn't matter the sport. Like, it could be a documentary on college Quidditch, and I'm probably going to watch it. It could be a movie about Formula One racing, and I'd watch it. I'm not going to watch Formula One. I'm not going to watch Quidditch.
But I'll watch
the documentary. Like I talked about probably a year ago, that documentary on ESPN Plus about the creation of that outdoor PLL, the lacrosse league. But these two brothers decided, you know what? There isn't a good lacrosse league. Let's just make one. And they literally created it out of scratch, and it's flourishing now. And I found that very interesting. But I'm not going to be dialed into every Water Dogs game, admittedly. But I'll watch pretty much any movie or documentary. And I can kind of get my fix with that. So on a night like last night for Bob, where there's nothing going on, or tonight, we don't have a game till 10 o'clock, I would look to ESPN Plus as some documentary I haven't seen before I looked to ESPN for a women's college hoops game.
I think tonight's the Kelce documentary for me.
Good
night.
About time.
We'll have a review tomorrow morning. We will have a review tomorrow morning. No spoilers.
He said maybe.
No spoilers.
He's already given himself a back door.
Let me look at the what to watch department in the Philadelphia Daily News.
I will tell you, though, I never understand that. Tony's joking around, but it's the idea of what are you, 12? You got to have a rooting interest? And I said to Tony in my response, I said, I believe there are more people like me than more people like you, Tony. I believe more people sit down with a rooting interest. I hate that team. I like this team. I like this guy. I want that. And many of it is determined by gambling or by fantasy sports.
Here's a quick example. So I go to pick up our son Tom yesterday from his program.
Okay.
And one of the fathers of one of the girls in Tommy's program played at St. Joe's. His son played against my son. So we have this common connection. He went to high school where I grew up or whatever. So we have a common connection. His son now is a player at Widener.
Okay.
And I know another kid that Kyle played with that is playing there also. So we're talking, going back and forth as we have. And I said, all right, what do you got Saturday? Who do you have? And he's like, yeah, home, 3 o'clock. I'm making plans. I want to go over to that. Like, is there a rooting interest there?
Well, there would be.
I know
You'd root
some
for them,
kids,
yeah.
But I just want to go see the basketball game. So, like, I don't put down the guy that says, what are you, 12? I mean, you don't have to say something like that because we all look at it different. But I don't put him down for saying, I'll go to any Division III game. I don't.
Going to a game and watching a game is different, though. Like, going to a game, it's fun to go to an event. I'll go watch high school sports. I love watching high school sports.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I coached it and I enjoyed that. I love to watch. I went to high school hockey last month with a bunch of my former players. I would love to do that. That interests me. Watching on TV, though, it's different for me. If you're going to get me to, first of all, sit still, and you're going to get me on the couch to watch a game, I have to have something that's keeping me there. Hey, UPS man, good morning to you.
Good morning, fellas. How y'all doing?
We better be blaring out of that truck, by the way, again.
Well, I guess not.
No, why not? We got cut off.
I guess not, man.
What happened with the UPS man?
I think he changed the channel.
I don't think he did.
I think when you started making edicts about what our listeners have to do, he just said, you know what? I
don't know about your UPS guy, Pat, or your delivery guys for Amazon or whatever. Usually I can hear their radios.
Yeah, usually I can too. Yeah.
Like they will have it loud enough that like when they're delivering, they can hear. I can hear what music they're listening to. Or I can hear what show they're listening to. And
I always, when I'm in my garage and guys come up to deliver, I always want to ask them, do you want a beer? But, like, I know they're driving and stuff, so usually I'll just grab a water and toss it to them and, tell them to have a good day or whatever.
You
but
1981, bud.
Yeah, like, I know. We have a guy that does maintenance on our pool and during the summer. And I told him, like, look, dude, you make us the last stop on Friday. We can sit out here and have a couple beers if you want. He says, so he always tries, but his sometimes his schedule doesn't do it. But I like talking to those guys.
That's awesome.
And yeah, because they're hustling.
Well, that's the hustle is incredible. Like that you have to do in and out. Just think of in and out of the car, in and out of the truck, lugging stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's and by the way, I'm sure they have bosses saying you're on a deadline.
Oh, my God,
and they're listening to us on the radio, which is it. UPS man's back. What happened to your phone, my man?
I have no idea, man. I probably hit a dead spot. But, hey, Bob, I actually took a beer from a customer one time. He put me on a Labatt Blue. I didn't drink it right then and there, but I did take it, put it in my cooler.
Attaboy.
We're good with that.
That's awesome.
I got you.
I'm kind of like you, Bob, when I watch games, man. I never really grew up in a household that was like Eagle-based. I found out later in life that my uncle used to be one of the replacement players when they went on strike.
He went dead again.
He's in a bad cell area.
UPS is dead. We'll check in with you tomorrow.
Yeah.
His uncle was in that Scab game. I went and watched that Scab team. Went and watched it and got
the Scab football team
and ended up on the back page in the Daily News.
Oh, yeah, you showed us that picture. You probably have that picture in your iPad, don't you?
I've got it. Yes, I do.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I do.
I've never met anyone that has so many pictures of themselves in their iPad.
Like every picture.
We can talk about John being in 5th grade, an innocuous story, and he'll pull up a picture. Here I am in 5th grade.
There's a picture of 5th grade.
Hey, I want to give a shout-out real quick.
Yes.
So my sister, Sharon, today, and she might be in the process of doing it now.
Hi, Sharon.
She's a pastor out in Western Pennsylvania. One of the people in her congregation needed a kidney. And my sister stepped up and said, okay, let me take the test and see if I'm a match. And she's given a kidney up today to just a person in her congregation. Now, we can talk about throwing a beer to a UPS guy or doing this. Man, that's I got to give her a round of applause. Like, that's pretty cool.
Okay, that's amazing.
I was texting with her last night and asking her if she's nervous and stuff like that. And she said, yeah, I'm nervous about having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. How the hell do you do that? I have to be at the hospital at 5. So Sharon, just a shout out to you.
What a great story.
And to just somebody in her congregation who's been, and there's hundreds of people obviously in her congregation. So I just wanted to give her a shout out today for doing something for somebody else. That's awesome.
Giving up an organ.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
crazy,
amazing.
Right?
That is absolutely.
Yeah, so good on you,
Now,
Sharon.
the thing is, though, people think about that, Bob, as, well, if your cousin or your sister or your brother or something like
yeah,
that.
your
But
children. You don't
but
think twice about it.
But a random act of kindness like that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, yeah. So shout out to her today.
God, that's an absolutely awesome story. We got a lot more coming up. Bob's already thinking about baseball season, and I got to tell you, I was a little bit this morning when I picked out my Phillies hoodie. John Kincade Show here on 97.
HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We appreciate you hanging out with the show as much as you can and hanging out all day long with the Fanatic, downloading that Fanatic app, staying tuned to everything we've got going on. Make sure you've got that rolling. You can listen at 97.5thefanatic.com, and you can be a part of First Friday. First Friday coming up this Friday. If you want to be in our studio audience, we will feed you. We will attempt to entertain you, and we're looking forward to seeing you on Friday morning. Should be looks like we're heading into a beautiful weekend, and I saw where they're saying it's going to be the nicest weekend since mid-November.
It ain't hard. It's not a high bar, is it?
All it's been is raining.
My God.
So it's going to be nice this weekend. Roll into it with a First Friday with the John Kincade Show. We look forward to seeing you. Go to 97.5thefanatic.com, and hopefully you will be picked to be part of the studio audience. We would love to see you there. Now, I thought of it today, Bob. My positive thought was I saw our own Sylvana Kelleher said that she was like, well, wait a minute, baseball season, the home opener isn't going to run into her birthday this year. So how's she going to extend her birthday week? And that's what I thought of, and I grabbed the Phillies hoodie, and I don't usually wear the Phillies stuff, and I said, you know what? I can think of warmer weather. I can think of the excitement of the spring. We should have a really, really good team, even though there are a couple teams in the National League that are juggernauts. We've already seen the Braves can be regular season juggernauts, and then in the postseason, we'll find a way to kick their ass and dominate them, in fact, when they come to Philadelphia. So there's optimism. There's excitement. There's reason to be excited. What were you thinking about baseball, though? You had something on your mind with baseball.
Like, not enough.
What do you mean?
I'm sitting there and I see, oh, look at this trade. Somebody went here for 4 players and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, why aren't the Phillies involved in any of this? I need to see them do something. I need to see some moves. I would like to see something happen. It just started hitting me yesterday because once February comes, we all start talking about baseball and we get the proverbial, 8 days till pitchers and catchers.
Thanks for those tweets, by the way. We all appreciate them.
Yeah,
You're very creative.
I love the start of a new season. That's great. 30 straight days of baseball that means nothing in spring training, I always thought was a little too much.
So do players, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard Ricky say it.
Oh, yeah. So, I was just like, are the Phillies going to do anything more here? Is there something coming? Is there, I don't know, anything?
They're rolling it back.
Am I going to see a notification on my phone that says the word Phillies in it from Heyman as opposed to every other team in baseball?
What do they need?
I don't
break
know.
it down. They don't like you mentioned the trade yesterday for Jorge Polanco to the Mariners for 4 players.
Right.
They don't need a second baseman.
Right.
No.
They don't need a shortstop. They don't need a third baseman. They don't need a first baseman.
Sometimes you get
catcher.
stuff that you don't really need when you're close, but
they kind of already have that with a lot of the bench pieces that they have. They filled those roles. Like you're going to end up seeing
who are the bench
minor
pieces,
moves.
though, Pat? We're talking about.
Sosa. They could use a backup first baseman. I don't like Jake Cave at all, and he's back, and that's gross to me. But I'd like to see an upgrade there, and you probably will see a couple of invites to spring trainings, minor deals. But for the most part, no, you're not going to get this big trade because they're set.
How about Soler? Could they use a big bat? I don't know. I just don't know. You can DH him? You could DH him a couple days a week.
Yeah, but
minimum.
probably not for the price because you kind of already have your DH and he's a starter. He's not necessarily a.
It is January 30th though.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind another outfielder.
He hasn't been grabbed by somebody.
He hasn't, but there's probably a reason, and it's his price. And even if it goes down, I don't think it's going to go down so much where the Phillies go, okay, yeah, we'll grab you to sit on the bench and pinch hit, and every once in a while you're going to fill in here and there. And he's not that player yet; he's a starter, so they're kind of set everywhere. I mean, even starting pitching, they have their starting pitching locked up, with long-term contracts, and then they have guys on the way, so they're not going to be giving out contracts when you've got Painter, coming back after or next year.
Next
And
year.
then- next year,
Yeah,
Abel.
love that.
What about this year, though?
Abel coming.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like they're set. I mean,
They
they
do have
got
their 5
they
starters,
got
you're
Wheeler,
right.
they got Nolas locked up. I mean, Suarez is on his arbitration year. They gave a bunch of money to Walker. Like they're good pretty much everywhere. I mean, they don't really need much other than depth pieces and bullpen arms, and you'll see that. You'll see Philly sign some guy that you're gonna have to look up on Baseball Reference because he's a bullpen piece, and only ridiculous seam heads know every bullpen arm.
Would you have signed Hector?
Yes,
$9 million for Hector Neris?
I would have.
Pat?
I would have.
He's thinking hard about it.
No, not for $9 million.
How old is Hector
$9
now?
mil? We paid
Not
$10
for
mil to
$9 mil.
Kimbrel last year.
Yeah, not
And
for $9
Hector
mil.
Neris has been a hell of a he's been a hell of a piece. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he hasn't been a hell of a piece in Philly. It was just so mixed results with
Do you
him.
think here is the reason, or do you think he maybe learned something?
it might be the stadium. It might be
Okay,
Citizens
that's
Bank Park being a bandbox, and we'll find out. 'cause
Houston's a bandbox. though.
Chicago's pretty small. Yeah, I look. I'm just throwing crap at a wall to figure out why he goes down to Houston. And by the way, a lot of players go down to Houston and figure it out. Now, I thought it was Brent Terry Strong, who's the pitching coach of Arizona now, but for a while he was the pitching coach of Houston, and he turned a lot of careers around down there. And Ricky's talked about him as well. But Hector figured something out in Houston. I don't know if I'm willing to go, all right, $9 million, here you go.
That's a lot to me, $9 million.
They're
Is it?
yeah, me too. And they're always
yeah.
able, every team in baseball is able to find somebody, an invite to spring training, some guy out there that they're
Yes.
just throwing, they're throwing darts at a board, and that guy ends up impressing them in spring training, and he ends up being a valuable piece. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to factor in one of their best relievers last year was Jeff Hoffman, who they
Right.
got off waivers.
Yeah.
Was he Yankees?
Reds.
And,
Reds.
Hector's somewhere between like 34 and 38. I mean, I think his listing age is 34, but, who knows how true to form that is. I don't think I would have given up the $9 million to Hector. And the reason I brought it up is because there was a lot of people on Twitter talking about it.
It's somebody else's money. I mean, it's.
No, I hear you on that.
And it's not $9 million is not going to affect them that much. In if they ever went on, paying a luxury tax or anything like that. There's definitely an arm that Hector Neris is better than that's in that bullpen right now.
And Chris Miller brings up a good point. He can be used anywhere.
Yeah.
Correct.
You don't. But
And
they
don't have a closer.
ninth.
They don't. That's my one area of frustration with the Phils is they just, last year when they signed Campbell, it was like, all right, he's going to be the closer, and I liked having a solidified closer, and I will never like bullpen by committee or closer by committee, and they're going to go closer by committee, and I can't stand that. I want
Maybe
a
they're
solidified
auditioning.
guy. Even then,
Well, they're saying
not auditioning
Kirkering-
the first month. It's going to be like they'll throw him in a couple spots, and then they'll throw somebody else in there. And maybe one of those guys ends up taking the job, but for the most part, I think we're going to have bullpen or closer by committee for the majority of the season, because that's what Rob Thompson's done.
I hate that so much.
Even last year, he was putting guys in, and
we're auditioning people.
yeah, I've never been a fan of it. It's like the new age baseball thing.
If things stay the way they are now, Pat, who would you like to see as your closer?
I'm not sold on Kirkering. I'd like to see Sir Anthony if he's healthy, but if he's healthy is the biggest question mark.
You have choices there. That's
Like, you
what's
do.
cool.
But I don't wanna
Alvarado's another one.
I don't want to. Alvarado to me is so, man. Like when
Shaky?
when he's on,
When he's on, he's amazing.
and the whole 3 batter rule worries me in the 9th inning. I'd rather have him in a 7th or 8th.
So if you do get a closer, listen to all the arms you have. Like we just mentioned, 3 guys that can go 6, 7, 8.
But Kirkering is
Besides
the guy that appears to be that they're counting on. I'd have to see, doing the math here, it looks like he's the guy that they're thinking is going to be the closer.
I think he's still auditioning. I think they probably want him to be that lights out guy and say, yeah, but I still think he's auditioning.
8 o'clock hour, the John Kincade Show. Glad you're with us here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And we look forward to those warmer days of Phillies baseball. We'll be all over it here in the show. I got to tell you that the idea of Vic Fangio coming in, to me, with the hirings that we saw yesterday, I'm very excited about it. Pat, you were talking about, though, is priorities for Vic Fangio. And coming in here, he's got a job to do, and it's a major – I don't know if it's a major overhaul or just a major change of attitude and playing personality. And does he have the parts to be able to do it? He's got a lot of things he has to find. What's top of his priority list.
A lot of it, yeah. A lot of changes with this defense and holes you got to fill. But what position group do you think needs to be his top priority?
I honestly, I'm going to tell you, I think it's got to be corner.
I thought you'd go there.
I really do think it is, because I think the corner, in my mind, and maybe it's incorrect, but I always think of, if you've got corners, then you've got a pass rush.
Yeah. I think that helped them with Jonathan Gannon's scheme, was you had two cornerbacks who were playing at an all-pro level.
Yes.
Where it allowed the defense and the defensive line to get to the quarterback. We talked about this year, oh, man, the quarterbacks are getting the ball out so quickly. That's because guys were open. That's because the cornerbacks, were suspect this year, and the linebackers were getting torched. And, the idea that the quarterbacks the previous year just decided on their own to hold the ball for 2 seconds, it's like, oh, all right, I got time. No, they did that because there was no one open, and they were looking for open guys. And the Eagles did a really good job under Jonathan Gannon's scheme to shore those up. Whereas this past year, guys were just open. I mean, the whole job of a quarterback is to get the ball out as quickly as possible, and they were able to do that under last year's scheme. So I think the Eagles, though, would tell you that they're good at cornerback. They have Darius Slay. They've got James Bradbury locked up. They drafted Keely Ringo. They're high on him. Eli Ricks was a priority undrafted free agent signing, and he got us some valuable time. And Josh Jobe was a priority as well. So they might tell you that they're good there, and it's not a priority.
Well, his priority may be for development then, and to change the way these guys approach the game. I mean, James Bradbury was lost. And I think Vic Fangio can be a guy who teaches players. He does not necessarily, and if you look at his history, he is not about just leaving his corners 8 yards off of and playing super soft. That's not his philosophy. So it's got to change. And does he have the guys to be able to do it?
His isn't a bend, don't break philosophy. I thought everybody underneath of him, that's why the Eagles like them.
But he likes the corners being – he has many, many times had the corners be a little more, let's just say, aggressive in their coverage.
Well, they couldn't be any less aggressive than the Eagles' coverage over the last.
And that's what I wonder about.
Yeah,
that's what I wonder about.
I think his priority has to be developing those two young defensive linemen. I really do. Not that you're shying away from anything else. Other places you're going to have to upgrade the talent. There, you're going to have to upgrade the talent that you already have. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So the other positions, upgrading talent, that's on Howie. Bring him in, and then he coaches them. These guys, they're the talent that you have. You have to upgrade their talent.
If the what was it, 9th pick in the draft and the 16th pick in the draft don't pan out 2 years in a row, if they don't end up being forces that are fixtures on this Eagles defense for years and years to come, I keep hearing people tell me about, the Jordan Davis thing. I'm a huge Jordan Davis fan. But I'm not going to wear the put on the pom-poms for you and tell you, boy, Jordan Davis, man, he's delivering just what they expected. People are like, look at Brandon Graham. Look what he did. Brandon Graham is the exception to the rule of when 2 years into a career, we go, man, I don't know if this guy's got it or he doesn't. And then Brandon Graham turned it around. There's many, many more examples of guys 2 years in that we went, they don't really have it. And then they didn't have it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Brandon Graham example is nice to have in your back pocket, but it can't be the answer in every discussion about Jordan Davis. And I'm a fan of Jordan Davis. I want him to succeed. But if he can't play, if he can't be a force for 17 games, then that ends up being a horrible pick. It ends up, if he can't find a way to not run out of gas in late November and December, then, and which we've seen 2 years in a row, that's a major problem.
Yeah, some of the best coaching that you may have to do with him is happening right now. Off-season regimen. What does he do to stay in shape or get into better shape during the off-season? How is he best delivered to the team in April, May, but especially September? Those are all things that these guys are looking at and probably addressing with him right now.
It's a desirable job, though, Pat, but as you bring up, he's got a lot in his plate.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very interested to hear what his number one priority is, because
Do you think it's?
Look, defensive line, linebacker, cornerback, say secondary. Like, you can make a case for all of it.
If he had the first conversation with Howie when he's talking with Howie and he's talking with Nick Sirianni and Mr. Lurie about getting this job, do you think the conversation went to, here's the personnel I need you to go get me, or here's how I can take the personnel you have and really run my system better?
Oh, good question.
Because I have a feeling
I'd go with personnel. Like, I think in sports, ego is so big. You don't want to and I think Howie especially, ego is big. You don't want to ruffle feathers by going in there and going, yeah, Howie, all these guys that you got, man, they ain't it. I need this guy, this guy, this guy. I think the first thing you do is stroke that ego a little bit and say, hey, man, this guy that you chose in the 4th round, he's great. He's really good. This linebacker that you got, he just wasn't used correctly. He's really good. We can do something with him.
Let me see what I can.
And then a couple days later, you go, by the way, if you are looking at linebacker, maybe look at this guy. Hey, secondary help. I like this guy, but there's also this guy. I really liked him from Miami or wherever. So I think you probably start complimenting more than you start dictating who you need.
I think that sucked, that pick you had. That was terrible.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good way to get a job. I think your evaluation there. It's going to be exciting to watch. This offseason has so many storylines, just so many, and I think interesting storylines about where they're at. Because I refuse to believe that they're that far off. I believe they are closer to the 10-1 team that wasn't perfect, but was finding ways to win and doing those things against really good teams than they are the 1-6 team. I'm going to hold on to that, and Bob, maybe it's wishing and hoping more than it's real belief. But that's where I'm going to be. That's where I am this offseason. I do believe this can be a fix, that this can turn around faster. I like the coordinators already that they brought in.
Yeah, the last 7 games of the season, they were the worst team in the NFL.
They were terrible.
So would I say that they're more towards the middle of the pack or above? Sure, I think so. I think it's safe to go there. That was unrecognizable the last 7 weeks of the season. I mean, horrible. We talk about bigger stories. There's got to be a bigger story out there. What in the holy hell happened? I mean, that was watching those games. They were at the depths of the likes I've never seen before with an Eagles team, like embarrassingly bad.
We're 15 days out, by the way, and we still haven't gotten that story. Like, I haven't gotten more details. And the Eagles beat, and I've said it before, having been around, I think we have a spectacular set of beat reporters. And we have, like, the analysis we get here is fantastic in this town. We've got a lot of great beat reporters. We've got great analysts. And I can't believe that we haven't heard more about what the hell's went on with that team.
I think you got to read between the lines and you can see it. Look at all these coaching hires that they made. I think that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman have kind of, and I guess Nick Sirianni, have gotten together and said, look, we have talent here. There's talent there. What in the hell were you guys doing with that talent last year? Because offensively, we all know the talent. Defensively, I mean, you can go from being number 1 in the league against the run to last in the league against the run.
In a matter of 8 weeks.
Yeah, there was some kind of super disconnect there. And maybe it was. Maybe the players did give up on the coaching because they just didn't like it. Or they didn't think they were putting them, in the proverbial best positions to win. I don't know what it was, but it was 2 drastically different football teams.
How much of a horrible indictment on the franchise would that be, though? If you had a veteran-laden team like the Eagles, if they quit on their coaching staff. That would be an indictment of the professionalism of that organization and of many of the players in that organization, and some that are ultimately revered. To me, that would be incredible. If that ends up being the story, that they just gave up, they didn't believe in them anymore and everything, then honestly, that's pathetic. That will be the most pathetic story that I've ever heard, because this is supposed to be a proud franchise with veteran leadership that really, shows out that this is something that they can lean on. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I'm still waiting for that story.
Well,
We're-
I mean, you might not get it. I don't, you said it's a veteran group. They might not come out and say, yeah, the coaching staff was so god awful that we knew they were throwing the ball to A and they had us going over to play B. And when that happens, I don't want to say you give up, but you're kind of like, what am I doing here?
And by the
what
way,
am I doing here? If we know they're doing something, and yet our coaches are telling us to do something else, and they're throwing screen passes and getting 72 yards on the first play of scrimmage, like I can understand never want to say give up, but the frustration-like play.
if it's a disaster next year, we have the veterans in the locker room to thank for it because they're the ones who stumped for Nick Sirianni. They're the ones who said, yeah, he's a great leader and he makes it a fun atmosphere to come to work. The reason we have Nick Sirianni here, so if this doesn't turn around, the veterans were the ones that stumped for him. They were the ones who really went and stuck their necks out for him. We were talking about the gambling angles and things like that, and I know Mike from Delran enjoys gambling.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Hi,
What's
Michael.
up, Mike?
Yo, first of all, shout out Bob's sister, man. That's awesome.
Isn't that a wonderful
Yeah, that's
thing?
cool.
Dude,
Yeah,
giving a
thanks,
kidney
Mike.
to somebody in her church, and then here we got Bob trying to get guys to drink on the job. I mean, that's good
Well, that's the difference.
That might have been
in
the best
kids.
tweet I saw today, Mike.
that's funny. Yeah, in my entire lifetime, there's only been 3 Super Bowls where I cared who won, right? And there's 3 Eagles Super Bowls. The other ones I don't care. But then against the Niners-Ravens season, I got myself into a $500 block pool. Right?
Okay.
I'd only done like
That was the
20,
blackout
$50.
Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. And there was a play at the end of the game where Michael Crabtree went to catch a 2-point conversion in the corner of the end zone. And had he caught it, I would have won $40,000.
Oh,
He dropped it. And I was a grown man tearing up, so pissed off, right? But it got me hooked. So now here I am, what is this, like 15 years later or whatever it is? And I'm like probably $2,500 in the hole on block pools.
Mike,
I'm an
how much
absolute degenerate.
do you have to wager to be on a 40?
500. It's 500 per
Oh
block.
gosh, I couldn't do it. I'm too cheap.
Yeah, I got 2 500s. I got 2 600s. I'm in half of one.
I couldn't. I couldn't do it. I'm too much of a cheap
does
bastard.
Mrs. Mike from Delran approve of this?
She knows about half of it.
Well, not now. She knows all of it.
She ain't listening to me. Yeah, but yeah, and as far as the defense, I think his first thing is he tells Howie what a great job he did. Fangio says, "Oh yeah, these players are great." And when he walks out of the room, he looks at Howie's assistant and says, "Sit me as close as you can to him on draft day." Go Birds!
There's Mike from Delran.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes, I like that. Now that's totally out of my wheelhouse. I couldn't even imagine.
I'm mad if I enter a $10 block pool and
you don't win. You're frustrated.
I'm devastated. I mean, Alexander Hamilton's killing the game, and I just let him go away. Just leave me.
I think I have a friend that I mention on this show often that might be in the Mike area as far as block pools go and
I
spending
can't
that
imagine.
kind of money.
I can't imagine doing that because it's so random. It's just random that there's no skill
I
involved.
do love a block pool.
The thing is, though, I do love it too.
Yeah.
Just not at that price because I can't. There's no skill involved in a block pool.
No.
Like to me, that's the problem. I'm putting down that kind of money and I'm hoping. Hey, 610-632-0975. You can get in on the conversation here on the show. We've had a lot going on today. Is it an overhaul or is it a tweak? That's one of the questions the Eagles got to be answering. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
First Friday's coming up on Friday. If you want to be a part of it, we look forward to seeing you here. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. How do you get in? Well, you go to 97.5thefanatic.com and put your name in, and we would love to be able to have you come on out on Friday morning for First Friday. We will feed you. Pat says we cannot say that we will entertain you. That could be false advertising? Pat's very worried with the legal department.
Yeah, I've gotten sued before. I don't want it to become a recurring situation. I'm not going to get into what for, but let's just say I like to avoid legal issues. And the way you avoid legal issues is you don't make promises you can't keep. And because of that, I am not going to guarantee an entertaining product. I'm going to guarantee food. I know that's coming. But an entertaining product, I can't guarantee that. Not with you two guys involved.
You see now, and he puts it on us, Bob. Puts it out on us.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm awesome. You guys are the ones that need to step your game up. We
look forward to seeing you this Friday, and look forward to it. Hopefully, you will get to be a part of what we've got going on this Friday morning. It's so, to me, and people can register on our YouTube page too. There's a link. Good job, Haley, getting that link out there on the YouTube page. 3% Kelce is one that Pat has put on Jason Kelce, whether he could return. But whether he returns or not, and I do not expect him to be returning, I wonder if Howie won't allow a little more aggressive roster makeover, wondering if Nick has more than 1 year of shelf life. What do you do when you have a head coach who is entering into his fourth year out of a 5-year contract, but pretty much a lame duck, because normally when you have a coach, you would start to think about adding on years at this point. If they don't, they're letting Mike McCarthy in Dallas be a lame duck coach this year. He's in the last year of a contract. I don't think that's going to cause any problems at all. Not in Dallas. They're so balanced there. I think that's a recipe for disaster. But I wonder if the Eagles brass looks at it as, how do you make over this team when you've got a coach that was clearly on some shaky ground? How much are you willing to remake it to fit what that coach wants to do when that coach may not even be the one that's here long term? It's got a lot to prove.
Are you picking players to play under Nick Sirianni, or are you picking players to play under Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore?
Well, that's what I'm wondering, is how do you do that? Are you playing, or do you pick players for, and if you're picking players for the vision of coordinators, that's dangerous too.
No, you're just getting the best talent. You're getting the best talent. You are. You trust that those coaches can mold that talent into what they want to do. I don't think coaches come into play. I don't think any. You get the best players you can get, and you trust that your coaches will get the best out of them.
So you're talking like a draft strategy. Just draft the best player, or do you draft, because this organization has drafted by need before, filling a mistake or trying to pick up a way that you can correct something, maybe a position of need. That causes a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I'm not picking the best quarterback available if there's, a safety, a corner, a linebacker out there that I think I can, have play for this team. No, best player available over position. Yeah, that's what you always go against in a draft, right? That's what it always is. Teams come out and say, I'm always taking best player available. Well, no, there's a tinge of what you need, obviously, back there, and we see it. We'll go into years where Eagles have to get some of this and that, and they'll go in and they'll draft this and that, and they might not work out. They might not be players on this roster in years to come, but no, need has to be high on your list. Absolutely.
Do you think this is – how would you depict, Pat, if you were to use a word, how do you think the Howie Roseman roster offseason will be? Makeover? Tweak? Because – we just talked about it with the Phillies a little while ago. The Phillies are just saying, no, we're good here. Rolling it back. We're going with the same. And it causes people to be a little frustrated at times.
I'll go tweak, because their offense is pretty loaded. You don't really need a lot of work there. The tweak is pretty much going to come on defense. And the luxury that the Eagles have is they have hired a defensive coordinator that isn't really going anywhere for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, until he wants to retire for good.
Right.
He wants to be in Philadelphia. He wants to be close to home. You don't have to worry about overtures from other teams and hiring him as a head coach.
He's not going in, man.
So that gives you the luxury of going, all right, Vic, what do you want in terms of a player come draft day? You're not necessarily going out and getting maybe the best player. You're getting the best player for Vic Fangio's system. Whereas offensively, you probably do have to go best player. Because Kellen Moore, if you have a good season, he's gone. If you have a bad season, there's a chance Kellen Moore's gone anyway because he might just clean house. So I think with Vic Fangio, it's a whole different scenario. Vic, you go, look, man, we've got 2 cornerbacks here. Which one fits you best? This one's got a higher grade, but this one fits more your scheme. Okay, we'll go with him. If Kellen Moore goes, no, this running back fits my scheme better than that guy, you're going, yeah, cool, man. We're going with the other guy because we don't know if you're going to be here in a year. So it's two parallel situations.
You'd have loaded shelves for the next guy you're trying to hire.
Yeah.
You're going to have so much talent that you're going to attract a great top-notch offensive coordinator.
You definitely hope.
As Bob always points out, the idea of the 32 of these jobs, too. Like, I mean, even if as attractive as it is, it's a game of musical chairs where these coaches are trying to find a spot to land in. I would love to see the NFL put a rule in place where no coaches are hired till after the Super Bowl. And they did.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either.
And they did a sort of like a free agency period and there was no tampering involved. And if you tamper, you can end up with losing draft picks and stuff. So after the Super Bowl, every coach has a chance to be able to move around and get a job. Can you imagine what those 2 weeks would look like? That'd be exciting. Like, if you had 6 franchises fired their head coaches and then the constant watch of information, you need a new coordinator. It would be, to me, a much more fair system if they did it that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. Why are people on different levels of being able to do what they want to do as far as coaching goes because they're having success in the playoffs? Teams that run further in the playoffs probably aren't making a whole lot of coaching changes, but that doesn't matter to me. No, everybody's got to be on an equal playing field. I would love it if you say, Monday after the Super Bowl at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's the first time you're allowed to talk to anyone.
And then coaching, you can, and if there's any tampering, you're losing picks.
Yeah,
like they can put those kind of police in place. So yesterday, I want to make sure that I give the proper credit because of where it is the odds on Bet Online came out with the odds for next year's Super Bowl. For who would be in next year's Super Bowl in 2025. By the way, it's in New Orleans, the most spectacular Super Bowl city ever. So I ask you now, where did
Las Vegas was?
Oh, Las Vegas is amazing. I've never seen him as a Super Bowl city, though. The best Super Bowl city, I would wish New Orleans was in permanent rotation. I love the idea of going to a city, taking a cab from the airport, and then you can walk everywhere. Walk to the stadium, walk to all the bars, walk to the restaurants, and you don't have to be, constantly cabbing around. If I was to say to you right now, where do the Eagles rank in the NFC? Who do the odds makers, now Bet Online put this out yesterday, their odds are up and out for next year in the NFC. How do they see the hierarchy going? Who is better than the
win losses on all these teams?
No,
Can we
who's
do it
better?
now?
No, who's better than the Eagles in the NFC?
Detroit.
Correct.
Green Bay.
Wow, you went
San
Green
Fran.
Bay.
Yeah, San Fran.
You went Green Bay fast.
Yeah, Detroit. I'm going on just divisions.
Okay.
Detroit, Green Bay, San Fran.
And they're in the same division, though.
Dallas.
Dallas is not.
Really? Okay.
How about that one for you?
Rams?
How about Rams are not?
All right, so then the Eagles are third.
How about the Eagles are fourth? Because it's San Francisco, number 1, Detroit, number 2, Green Bay, number 3.
Oh, did I forget to say Detroit?
No, we said it.
I'm not a
No,
okay,
we said
I did.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
Detroit. You have it there.
Okay.
So San Francisco's 1, Detroit is 2,
I just can't count.
but Green Bay is 3, based on 5 weeks of good football.
Yeah.
Like, people are really high on that. And they're in the same division as the Lions.
Well, you can make the case that the Eagles are 4 because of 7 weeks of bad football. Well, the Eagles probably would be 2 if it wasn't for this bad 7 weeks.
You're brilliant. Because that's exactly what I was thinking.
I can read your mind,
That
John.
doesn't make him brilliant
They
because he said what you were thinking. I mean,
That's a
my
really good
God,
point.
let's not get
That's
carried
it.
away.
Wait a minute, let me compliment myself
Yeah, a
on
little
brilliance
bit,
here. The Cowboys and the Eagles are tied for fourth. They're both tied for the fourth best odds in the NFC. So they see those teams fairly even, and then it drops down drastically in the NFC. This is the big deal. The next team in the NFC are the Falcons and the Rams at 33-1. Eagles and the Cowboys are 18-1 to win next year's
The
Super Bowl.
Falcons.
33-1. I don't get it either.
The Falcons are tied with the Rams?
Yes.
What am I missing?
I don't get it either.
I mean, Bobby, you watch nothing but football without rooting interest, so you tell me.
I
What am I
can
missing here?
honest to God say I don't think I saw a Falcons game this year.
Well, your eyes aren't hurting you then.
I watched Falcons Patriots.
Oh, you did
And
watch that one?
I hated myself for it.
Your
Honest
eyes
to God,
bled?
I don't remember seeing a Falcons game.
You
Or
would
if
have
I
bet
did
on that,
see
Pat.
some of them,
Absolutely.
I didn't.
Yeah, of course I had a bet on it.
Well, the 7 teams that are ranked in the best Super Bowl odds, again, San Francisco and the Rams out of the West, the Eagles and the Cowboys out of the East, Green Bay and Detroit out of the North, and then Atlanta as the only team out of the South. I mean, there is such a drop-off. They have the NFC teams, the Panthers at 150-1, the Commodes at 100-1, the Giants at 100-1, the Saints at 100-1, the Cardinals at 75-1, Seattle at 66-1. It plays, Pat, to the argument of that it is sort of a haves and have-nots right now as far as entertainment value on these teams. There's a lot of bad teams. There's a lot.
But there's always the team that will surprise you, and there's a team that drops off, and I mean there'll be some surprise squad this year that you weren't expecting to make noise. I mean, Detroit ended up living up to the preseason hype. They were everybody's darling team heading into the year of like, oh well, we think the Lions could be good, but I don't think many people were expecting Green Bay to be good this year. And you're right, it was 5 weeks, but it was 5 good weeks.
And only 4 teams have a better odds to win next year's Super Bowl than the Eagles in the AFC. Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, and Cincinnati. And Buffalo and Cincinnati are very close to the Eagles as far as the odds. It's really, I think that we live so close to the sun. We were burned by what happened in the last 7 games, but it's clear that the odds makers go, okay, here's who we think the good teams are going to be. They want to get action on these teams, by the way, but they don't want to get burned either. And they think the Eagles are better off than maybe a lot of us do that are so close to it. That maybe they've seen, because the odds came out yesterday, maybe they saw the coordinator hires and that moved things.
Or maybe they're
direction.
looking to see at what part of the country bets more, and Philadelphia does. So they said, let's put an odd there. Well, we'll make money off of them.
That they're gonna.
It's a business there. There's no feelings in Vegas.
No, you don't want to take but you also don't want to take a bet. Putting that number
God,
at
no.
putting that number at 18-1 was the year thing. Mine was 30. My bet was 35-1 on the Eagles in 2017, and I would put one down every year. It wasn't like I was a genius and saw them winning the Super Bowl. If I thought they were going to be a playoff team, I would bet every year on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. So and I think I more than covered my bets with one winning. But it's like these people with these block pools. But it just is Vegas does like the Eagles in that mix. Green Bay just shocks me though. That's a little small sample size. They're very young though. They're a young team.
You bring this up all the time. Vegas trying to get money on both sides. How much of it is they're just trying to get money on the Eagles?
Well, I mean,
I place a Super Bowl bet every year for the Birds. I know
so you do every year?
Yeah, usually early in the year, I'm my free $5 bets and stuff are going to the Eagles.
I think if the Eagles are if I think they're going to be a playoff team, I always place a Super Bowl bet. But if there's years where if I don't think they're a Super Bowl team, I don't bother to place the wager on them. I think there's a lot of people out there though who always who'll be like that, as far as just try to they want a little action on the Birds as it gets ready for the season.
Yeah, and guess what? Vegas knows that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, they know it for all the teams. I mean, all the teams.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of teams that have very popular fan bases that they are not on, like they're not on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have the Pittsburgh Steelers like below the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have the Steelers down.
Yinzers ain't betting.
But they do. But they usually do, which is an odd thing. Is that's one of the most popular teams to wager on across the country. Like they have a national fan base. The Steelers.
They do, but you can't fake that. Like if Vegas makes the Steelers one of the favorites, I think everybody goes, that's fugazi.
By the way, the Jets are behind the Eagles at 20-1. Eagles on Cowboys at 20-1. The Jets and the Chargers are up at 22-1. All based on is Aaron Rodgers going to be Aaron Rodgers, and then that Jim Harbaugh is going to come in there and immediately make a difference. I think Jim Harbaugh is going to clean house. I think that thing's going to get a makeover. Like, I don't expect them to be competing for Super Bowls next year.
He's in love with Justin Herbert.
He loves him. He absolutely loves him, and he should. There's a lot to love. I just want to see him. Maybe Jim can help him win something. There's always a lot of chat about Justin Herbert. It tends to just revolve around stats, as far as like what he is and how he's going to be. The unlikability of the Super Bowl. Patty, got a question here for you. Steven wants to know if it's an unlikable Super Bowl and you didn't place a bet, are you watching?
Yeah.
So you definitely are watching.
Yeah, I watch every Super Bowl.
You're watching the Super Bowl, because there are people who will say, I know there are people who will always say, I ain't watching this, and then they're going to watch. I think it was Ray's parents yesterday. I heard on middays, Ray Dunn's parents said they're going to the movies on Super Bowl Sunday. They're out. They can't watch the Chiefs and the 49ers. And he said, I think they're lying. I think by the time Super Bowl Sunday comes around, they'll be watching.
Yeah, I did that the year that the Eagles lost to the Carolina Panthers. I was like, I'm boycotting the Super Bowl. I ain't watching. Guess what I ended up doing?
And you did.
I ended up watching.
Yeah, you end up watching. You can't miss it. I mean,
it's an American tradition.
It might be a great game. It's like people saying, I'm not watching the NBA till the playoffs start. Okay, you missed a 70-point effort by Joel Embiid. You might have missed, some fantastic basketball over an 82-game season. Like I could never say that I'm not watching a game because of anything.
I want to be entertained. Like I look at it as like the regular season to me is all about entertainment. Except I don't hold that deal with the Eagles as much. The Eagles like the regular season just means so much more.
It's an event. As
a fan,
yeah,
it means so much more to me going, it's a little bit more than that. I can't be, and again, I can't be a dispassionate viewer. I can't be a dispassionate. I have to, something will get me to the couch, and I guess I'm going to end up rooting for the Chiefs again, which just sucks. Because I think I've seen the Chiefs win enough.
You don't have to root. Just sit there.
I can't.
Just watch.
I can't just
observe.
No, because I'm going to see Kyle Shanahan's face on the TV, and I'm going to know he's a turd, and I'm going to want to see him lose. So I have to be saying, come on, Andy. Like let's send him home a loser. Let's do something bad here. I do not want to see them win. Brian joins us. Brian, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, buddy.
So with the Super Bowl, I definitely want the Chiefs to beat the Niners sadly, but because the Niners fans would rub it in our faces, we couldn't beat the Chiefs last year. I just it's not likable, obviously. But also, with the Eagles coaching and everything the last 20 years, they had 4 or 5 shots to win the Super Bowl. And it's almost how would Howie and Lori feel like they've been the bridesmaids, not the brides, with the Patriots dynasty. Now Andy Reid might have a dynasty, and it's just Sirianni's press conference didn't make me feel great. Are we really going to run the table with 2 Super Bowls with him?
Does Nick Sirianni remind you at all of Bill Belichick or Andy Reid or you're not going to get it? I don't think with a guy like Nick Sirianni you're going to get a dynasty. Thank you, buddy. I don't think you're going to get dynastic with many coaches. There are a lot of great coaches that can't get you a dynasty
in all sports.
Yeah,
dynasties are rare, very, very rare. That's why they're called dynasties.
It involves, and it also involves personnel just that are controllable, that you can put into place and say, in the NFL, it's actually what the Chiefs have done is amazing. It's absolutely amazing the way they've been able to sustain what they've sustained.
And when you think about it, that they were a defensive-minded team this year. After having Patrick Mahomes and an offense, it's just incredible. And every time you thought of the Chiefs, it was score, score, score. Well, they have a second-year running back out of Rutgers. They have wide receivers that were questioned all year and led the league in drop passes. Yeah, they have a great tight end and a great quarterback, but the definition of Kansas City for the most part of this year was on the defensive side of the ball, where they started very, very young corners and safeties. So that's what a dynasty is. They figure out how to keep winning, and it's just a winning culture that is hard to shake.
I look at the Chiefs model. They won a Super Bowl last year with a really, really young defense, and they might win another Super Bowl with a really, really young defense. And when I hear people go, well, you can't let all these veterans go. You can't let these guys go. Now, some of it is for salary cap reasons that you can't. But there are some players that, at some point you just got to say, maybe it's best to say, we love you, Fletcher Cox. We love you, Brandon Graham. You are parts of this city and parts of this franchise forever. But we got to move on. And we can't. The Chiefs did not believe in nostalgia. The Chiefs believed in, and they were a really good team, and they made over their defense and have gotten to 2 Super Bowls in a row with a really young defense. If you want to get in, 610-632-0975. And Bob says the last few days have told us a lot about the latter part of the Eagles season. Plus, we have a funny man who's going to stop on by. John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, there's a lot. There's a lot going on around this Birds team and more, and we've been talking about it at length. The Sixers lost last night. You may have missed it. You heard the game here on 97.5 The Fanatic. They got trounced by a really bad team and gave up 130 points without Maxey and Embiid. So, I mean, there has to be that disclaimer. But that's a bad Portland team.
Yeah,
They're terrible.
Well, without Embiid and Maxey and a D'Anthony Melton and Tobias Harris playing,
With
right out of the sick bed, guess what? The Sixers aren't that good of a team either. So, yeah, and you have an eye on towards tonight. So when the game starts to get out of hand, you look at the starters' minutes from last night. They kept them in the 20s because you got another game tonight. Hopefully you'll get Embiid and or Maxey back. I don't know how much better Tobias Harris is going to be feeling. D'Anthony Melton appears to still be some days away. So, yeah, it's just a time where stuff's hitting the fan, and you can't get away from it. And that's what happens during these seasons. But hopefully you get one of them back tonight and maybe sneak out with a win.
Seeing the video on social media of Joel Embiid during a TV timeout of the Indiana game where he is being met on the court by training staff and everything, and he's bent over and he's holding his knees and he's trying to exert a little bit on that, and then now he hasn't played. That scares me. I mean, and you were talking about that earlier. We don't know the severity of this at all.
No,
we have no idea.
Knee soreness. Okay, is it ligament? Is it a bone bruise? Is it something else? It's nerve-wracking. Like, look, you could probably. It's funny. I have a guy I have a trainer in one of the major sports who I talk to often about injuries, and he said it to me a lot. He goes, "Look, you could pick a player on the 76ers." Pull him aside and test his knees out. He goes, I guarantee I'll find something. Guarantee I'll find something.
Oh, absolutely.
So, does it hurt Embiid more? Is it worse off in Embiid? Is there something there that's been nagging throughout the season? I don't know, but it's gotten to the point of, all right, soreness has now become a real problem. What is going on here? Now, should he go out and play tonight? Okay, maybe it's it. But he just talked the other day about, I'm ready to play back-to-backs, and it's good to have off in the fourth quarter and all of those things. And then, boom, he's out again. So it's the Joel Embiid process.
And you also have to be extremely careful because do you risk something in January and early February that may end up hurting you in April and May?
Oh, of course not.
No, you can't. I mean, you have to play this thing. You have to play this thing very, very delicately. I mean, it's a That to me is that's very, very difficult to me.
Oh, it is. There, no question. And there's so many things in the back of your mind. Do you care about him being eligible for MVP and All Pro? Do you want to take away from a season that has been spectacular so far? Does he lose his edge of the way he was playing before? You have plenty of time before playoffs to get it back. Is this something that's going to turn into a couple of weeks? I don't know. And the medical staff is all over it. They see fit to sit him the last couple of nights. We'll see if he goes today.
And Pat's got PTSD as far as whenever you hear anything about Joel Embiid being injured. And you're not ripping Joel Embiid.
No. I mean, the injuries happen, and for him, it's more often than not. And Bob said it perfectly. For all we know, he's playing tonight. And this is just fear-mongering for just because we've been through this ringer before. But
he didn't play last night, and that's weird. After Saturday, it would be weird to me to see him tonight.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't play last night. And it might be the back-to-back thing. They might look at they'd rather have him play maybe they looked at it like, hey, we can probably win against Portland.
Better chance to win against Portland.
Better chance to win against Portland without him than Golden State. Obviously, that doesn't happen. I mean, Tobias Harris looked like he was still dealing with flu symptoms, and Tyrese Maxey doesn't play. And as soon as you're without Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. It's like, okay, this is kind of a building game where you're just gonna get some run for the bench players and see what they got, and that's the way I looked at that game. As soon as I saw the injury report, it was like, okay, you're gonna see some of the players that normally wouldn't get time get 9-10 minutes here and there, and maybe you can build them up for trade purposes or something.
Yeah, it's going to be. This is something to watch. That's going to be a bit of a. That's going to be a bit of an issue.
It's absolutely something to watch. Like, it's got to be probably one of the main questions today when you meet with Coach Nick Nurse before the game. If you're one of the beat people, it's like, okay, what's going on with this knee? A game or two, you're kind of like, okay, knee soreness, you're in Denver, high altitude. Okay, maybe you're holding them out of Portland because, like Pat said, you have a better chance to beat Portland without him, and now you go against Golden State. Maybe those are all answered. But if he's out tonight, I'm digging deep. I'm like, all right, how bad is this? What exactly is it? Has there been talk of ligament? Has there been talk of bone bruise? What exactly is there something arthritis in there? Is there something in there that he's going to have to live with? That's all comes into play tonight if he's out again.
And we're going to find out. You're going to hear it right here on the Fanatic. So the game is coming right your way there. So, Bob, you said the last few days should tell us exactly what happened with the Eagles at the latter part of the season. What was the message that you're getting from the last few days? Obviously, they go out and they hire some new coaches and put it in there. What are you reading between the lines there?
Not some new coaches. You're talking about a cornerbacks coach, a secondary coach. You're talking about a D-line coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. Probably going to be some offensive people under that coordinator that are going to be hired. What's it tell me? I think Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman took a good, hard, long look at what this season, especially the last 7 games, were about. Before they met with the media and the time the season got over and met with the media and said, oh, my God, what in the holy hell were these coaches doing? Where did they have these players going? What were they trying to design? What were they thinking as the game was going on? Yeah, I think their actions over the last 3-4 days has said this coaching was not up to snuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we are trying to figure out as far as where's the team going. Where is the roster building going? And it's going to create a lot of drama. There is a ton of drama going on around this team, and it involves, but a lot of it is we don't know what it is. We don't know what the drama is. We don't know what the situation was. We don't know what caused this team to fray.
Well, overwhelmingly, they sucked. You know what I mean? Like, you can't overlook that. The play was horrible. The tackling was horrible. All of those things were horrible. So do you need to dig deeper? Sure, you can do that, but don't let the obvious not smack you in the face. They were horrible, and you have to fix all of that.
That's all they have to do. It's a very easy offseason for them. That sounds like, I'm telling you, it's just is until I find out, and I know we're not going to find it out. I know we're not going to find out all the answers we want, but until I find it out, it's going to piss me off that we don't know what caused a team to go 10-1 and then crash off the bridge. It's until we find out what that answer is, Pat, it's going to piss me off. And we may never find out. There may be tight lips in there. There may be decisions that are made that just say nobody's going to spill the tea. Jeff McClain won't get it.
Just add it to,
Zach Berman won't get it.
Life's great mysteries that we just don't know.
That sucks. That's I don't want to hear that though.
No, I'd like to know what happened. But
I need to know what happened.
I think this media group is one of the best, and
so do I.
They'll dig until they find something.
Well, they got to find something. I would have thought that it would have come out by now, though.
No, I didn't.
Really, you thought it would be longer?
I thought it would be around this week, but if longer, yeah. I mean, if it doesn't happen this week, it'll happen by June.
Oh man, by June.
Yeah. What do you got going on?
No, I mean, I just want to find out.
You got nothing going on.
No, I understand. And it's funny.
You're just sitting around in Westchester.
Bob working a beat is like, yeah, screw you, Johnny. He goes, these guys on the beat, they wish they had it today too. But I think somebody's sitting on it, probably crossing T's and dotting I's. Would you guess that, Bob, or would you not guess that?
I don't know what there is to sit on. I don't know. I mean, it could be that they just sucked in the second half of the year. It could be. I don't know if there's any outside factor that said, oh, well, you know what? This was happening inside the locker room, and that's why it, portrayed to the field. I don't know. I honestly don't. Could be. I would give the guys a week to calm down before I start making my phone calls and saying, hey, what really did happen here?
Hey, we have a guest joining us here in the studio, and John DeBella called me the other day and said, hey, I know a really funny guy. And I said, yeah, I usually trust. Do we trust DeBella on that, Pat? We would trust DeBella.
Yeah, I don't have a choice.
I mean, we don't have a choice
so
because he's already here.
Yes.
Paul Mercurio's with us.
Hey, guys.
Emmy Award winner, Peabody Award winner.
There you go.
And you're a comedian.
I know.
I
Exactly.
mean, Bob, did you win a Peabody?
No.
And win an Emmy?
I didn't win many things. The biggest thing I won was, I think, in my own house, Father of the Year. Yeah.
Sports Writer of the Year one year. You were Sports Writer of the Year
Sports Writer of the Year one year.
So you're an award winner.
Yeah.
Paul, welcome in from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and other things out there. Work with the Daily Show, too.
Yeah.
Hi, Paul. Welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really
John
excited.
DeBella says you're funny.
Oh, geez. Well, you put me on this. John's
That's
drunk.
hard.
He's in retirement, so he's drunk now.
He was drunk when he was working.
He called me at 11:30 in the morning, and he seemed like it a little bit.
Exactly.
You have a show coming up called Permission to Speak.
Yeah.
And it'll be at the Sellersville Theater coming up this Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us about the show and the concept and what it's about.
So I basically like talking to the audiences in my stand-up. And so basically from that, I was getting these amazing stories, and it just sort of snowballed. And some people in New York, some producers saw me doing this and said, will those people plan? So I'm like, no. Well, how does it all work out? I said, well, I think everybody has a story. And a lot of times people want to tell their story. And if you just give them an opportunity, they will. And they said, well, can you do that for a while? Like an hour and a half? I go, yeah, I could do it all day if there's 10 people in the audience. You don't need a lot. And that's how it started. Frank Oz is my director, who created the Muppets with Jim Henson and is the original Yoda and directed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and Bowfinger. And we have this, and we have a really cool set where we do rear projection. We have animation by J.J. Settlemeyer, who did Beavis and Butthead, SNL TV Funhouse. And the set, yeah, exactly. And the set is designed by the set designer for The Late Show, where I work. And so I basically, I tell stories, jokes in my act, but it's really bringing people on stage from the audience, and they tell these amazing stories, and it's just been insane, some of the stories that we've been getting, and it's really been a lot of fun.
How do you know, though, when you attend the show, or more importantly, when you're doing the show, how do you know that the stories that you pluck out are going to be great?
Because everybody has one. I mean, I think we might even have a clip or two. I don't know if you want to play it, but like I had a woman, I said, what's your name? She goes, Nydia. I go, Lydia? She goes, no, Nydia with an N. I go, that's a unique name. How'd you get that name? She goes, well, my father got my mother pregnant with me, but at the same time was having an affair with a woman named Nydia, and he named me after the woman he was having an affair with.
Oh, my God.
That's what everybody did.
Was that discussed before the girl was born? Or much? I mean,
it's like it just was like,
wow.
You know what? And then
that's a story.
That's a story. And then, I had a guy, I go, what's your name? He goes, John. I go, so what's going on? He goes, I just broke up with my girlfriend. He goes, why? I go, because she got arrested for shoplifting at CVS. And he said, at CVS. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I told her not to shoplift at CVS. I go, why? He goes, yeah, I taught her how to shoplift. I go, what? He goes, yeah, I was shoplifting. I was making a lot of money. Making shoplift and steal shop. He goes, I've been stealing stuff since I was 12. I would steal bikes in the neighborhood and I sell them back to kids. Right now, everybody's doing what you guys are doing. Their heads are like exploding in the audience. And I go, so what happened? He goes, well, she kept nagging me to teach her how to shoplift. So I said, I'll teach you, but you got to use it you can't like shoplift at CVS. What's the point? You got to go to nice. It's like in the movies, like where you have the power but use it for good, not evil, right? Like that's what he's got. So the whole time he's saying this, there's no self-awareness. It's like he thinks this is normal, and that's what was crazy funny about it. So I go, what happened? He goes, well, sure enough, I teach her how to shoplift. What does she do? She gets arrested at CVS for shoplifting for like tweezers and a hand mirror. And so I go, what happened? He goes, well, I went down there. She was in the back of the squad car. We got in an argument, and I broke up with her. When? He goes, in the squad car. I don't need this. And he walked away. And that was it. And you go, what? And so those are the kind of stories that we've been getting. And like I said, we have a couple of clips too.
So if she had been arrested, say in Saks Fifth Avenue or something, he would have been okay
fine.
with it.
He was totally fine. He would have been totally fine.
But it was the fact that she was using her skills for tweezers.
Right, exactly.
Oh, my God.
How do you again, when you're this, sometimes people think they can take over a show.
No.
How do you?
Well, I had a guy one time. That's a really good point. He was a manager for Jackie Cooper and for Jackie Mason and Pat Cooper.
Okay.
And that's like old school comedy,
Yeah, sure.
like kind of. I figured this guy's got great stories. He would not stop cracking jokes. He wouldn't answer a question to the point where the crowd started going, "Oh, come on!" Like they would start like heckling. And eventually, I got him. I said, "Look, stop." And then we got into it, and he had some great stories. That's not happened that often. The ones that are the funniest are like the ones that go, "Oh, I don't know, I'm kind of shy," and then they take the mic and they're off.
Yeah,
like they just go and they go and they go and they go. And so, and then if somebody's a little nervous, I kind of can tell, and I don't push it. I kind of let it. I usually bring up more than one person at a time. You know, I got a few people up there, and we just start getting these stories, and you know,
does your BS radar go off a lot?
There's really not BS. Like people really just are honest.
Okay.
Like if we were writers in a writer's room, you get these stories. We'd write them like it's for fiction or whatever, or a skit for the Late Show. Be like, nah, nobody's going to believe this. Like the shoplifting story or the Nydia story, or they go on and on and on, you know. And it's like, so it's usually like they just want to. Sometimes people have said pretty consistently it's like therapy. Like they could finally say something that they wanted to say.
Right.
So it's like we're hanging out in somebody's big basement, having drinks and telling stories, and I'm leading it, and then they get to come up and ask me questions. Thing called a flip. So they come up and they which is great because they bust my chops. It's really fun.
It's coming up at the Sellersville Theater Friday. You can go to st94.com, st94.com to get yourself some tickets. You are a Patriots fan.
Yes.
So we will not hold. We'll try not to hold that against you. But we've been on a string. I think we've had 3 comedians come in here. Now there's like a third that's like a Patriots fan. We're not fans of the Patriots here.
Yeah,
you understand?
I understand that. And
we don't usually show this guy, and you no longer have Belichick.
Oh, thank God.
So, you're happy.
Oh God, yeah, that was ridiculous. It's like his ego got too much. It's like I don't need stars. I can make anybody a star. I can get a guy from Jiffy Lube and I can make him a corner. I can make him a tight. Like it was ridiculous. Like we're getting the third pick, right? We're getting the third pick. I wanted him gone. Because he wasn't going to pick a quarterback or a wide receiver, which is what we need. You know what he was going to pick? He was going to pick like a one-legged punter because, he punts with his stump and it puts a spin on the ball. Like, he's out of his mind because his ego. No, I'm serious. Like, listen, I found a blind wide receiver out of LSU. He hears the ball cut through the wind, and he knows exactly where to put his hands because his ego got so big, he had to keep showing people in the industry that he did things his own way.
But didn't you people make him that? Isn't that? Don't you Patriot
right
fans
now, buddy?
Don't you Patriot fans? Aren't you the ones that made him have that ego?
No, we won 6 Super Bowls. He didn't appreciate Tom Brady and what he had. Everybody's like his arm. You have an assistant coach on the field. That's what he gave. That's what he traded. He didn't just trade a quarterback. He traded a guy in real time that could coach a team on the field. And why? Because his ego got in the way.
So anybody could have done what he did with Tom Brady?
No, I think he made Tom Brady as
a collaboration.
Okay. But the point is that he got to the point where I think he wanted to prove that he could do it without Tom Brady to the detriment of the team. And so, when you have a guy like that, look. You're right, John. I mean, like, there was a time in New England, like, he could do no wrong. Like, if he called me up and said, I want you to come to my house, smear yourself in peanut butter, and wrestle a rabid raccoon, you'd be like, well, it's Bill Belichick. There must be some process here. Okay. Like, that's what would happen, right? Now, and then it just got crazier and crazier. And then, now you got Mac Jones, who's like, he's going to end up, poor guy at Wendy's, the rest of it, like, nothing wrong with that. But, like, he's a complete mess because of this guy. And then I get tortured because I got to see Gronk in every commercial who we had. It was great. And Gronk, he got fed up with Belichick and quit. And Gronk was, he's injured a lot.
He made you retire.
Well, he was like a piece of IKEA furniture. He's sturdy when you put him together. The minute you use him, he breaks. But the guy would watch an MMA fight and throw his shoulder out just watching it.
You're a lawyer.
Yes, an attorney.
But are you an attorney? A practicing attorney? A practicing attorney?
No, I don't practice anymore.
So you don't practice?
I did corporate law.
You did corporate law, and you became a comedian.
I could just see your eyes.
It's just weird. I said I didn't.
It's a natural progression. Corporate law, comedian.
After the whole Napster fiasco, he decided to get into comedy.
I didn't come into this till I was 33.
Okay.
full time.
Well,
So
you-
I said,
you
I was in
did-
the business world.
Right,
You're
I
doing
read
that.
that,
So I
right.
mean, it's a totally different thing for me. I do find it funny. Were you disruptive as a lawyer, as an attorney?
I was.
I would imagine staff meetings weren't as good with you in them.
It was hard to. I was joking around a lot. I was like, I didn't plan on this. I was doing corporate M&A deals in New York, at a big firm there, and then I started writing jokes as a hobby, and I didn't know why I was writing these jokes. But I was writing these jokes, and I went to a function, and I met Jay Leno at a private function, and I had like 20 pages of jokes, literally, like in a passworded file. And but I was, M&A deals, like hostile tender offers. I was
Sure.
like working all like 100-hour weeks. I'm a junior associate in a big firm. You know what that's
You were being ground to the nub.
Exactly. But I'm not going to complain because when you start practicing, you don't know anything about
You
law.
had Jay Leno, though. Did you corner him and start telling him jokes?
No, I went up to him with the jokes, and I go, I don't know if you need jokes, and I handed him the jokes. I did, and I go, because I'm never going to use them, and you can have them. And he goes, okay. He really does talk like that.
Did he get back to you then?
2 days later, my phone rings. It's Jay Leno. Is Paul there? And I'm like, there's no way Jay Leno's calling me. So I thought it was my friend David pulling a prank, right? And because he does like impressions and stuff, and he knew I met Leno. And I go, yeah, really funny, David. He goes, not really, it's Jay Leno. I go, David, look, I'm in the middle of a deal. I don't have time. He goes, no, it's Jay Leno. I go, stop. He goes, no, it is. And I actually said to Jay Leno, you do a lousy Jay Leno.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And he goes, I think I do a pretty good me. And I'm like, it was Jay Leno.
But
And
he got
goes,
you.
I'm going to hire you to send in jokes for the Tonight Show monologue.
You should have said you already accepted a job with Letterman.
And really up the price. Yeah, I was giving him to hit too. ST94.com is where you can get permission to speak tickets. It's this Friday,
Yeah.
February the 2nd. It's Groundhog Day.
We can give a couple tickets away, too, if you want.
How about that?
All right,
Maybe-
cool.
how about what you just want to say? Do you have a number in your head? Is it? Don't tell me it's 12. Because we don't care for
Anything
12.
under 10.
Yes.
4 tickets,
Okay.
right?
4 tickets. Okay, we got.
All right.
How about 2 pairs?
Yeah,
we'll give away 2 pairs of tickets. Brendan will take your call right now at 215-263-0975. And sounds like a fun show. Sounds like an exciting time. And sounds sort of like what we do for a living.
Yeah.
You know, just talking to people that we don't know.
No, he is fun.
Oh, okay. There's a little bit of a
No
difference.
fun here. No fun zone.
See, Pat's trying to get a job with you right now.
Pat, do you have any of those clips I sent?
Yeah, we do not because we got to run.
Oh, that's fine.
But it's
so yes, what it is you get to satisfy your own curiosity on stuff, right? Like, so someone tells me something and I don't know something about it, and I get to ask, like, well, how does that work and why, and how do you teach somebody how to shoplift? And it just gets, and then you have like a couple. I had a couple like 70 something. How'd you meet? We met on an S&M website. I go, really?
In their 70s.
In their 70s, right? Yeah, and you look and
were they dressed in leather or were they
no,
not?
that's the thing. The guy had like LL Bean pants on. Like he looked like a guy who just came out of New Hampshire or something. And it's like it was literally like S&M, and they could get this whole thing. And she's in sub, and he's a dumb. And I'm like, and they look like your grandmother. And
Oh no, that's scary. Hey, check out Inside Out for more of this nonsense with Paul Mercurio. How about Paul McCartney, Kevin Costner?
Yeah.
Spike Lee.
I could
you got
tell you,
Bryan Cranston.
I could tell you another time if we're out of time. I could tell you Paul McCartney story. I have
Well, give a
story.
quick Paul McCartney story.
It takes like.
Oh, it does.
Like
All right.
how much time?
Yeah,
is it?
go on.
All right. So I was working at the I work at the Colbert Show, and McCartney was the guest, and he had just finished rehearsal, and I round the corner, going down the hallway, and there's Paul McCartney all alone, standing in the hallway, completely alone, nobody with him, just leaning against the wall like he's waiting for a bus. And my whole world slows down. I'm like, oh my God, it's Paul McCartney. I'm like, should I say hi? Should I not say hi? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? He's alone in a hallway with no security.
Sure.
I'm like a gazelle. He's
You
like
gotta
a
say
gazelle.
hello.
I'm like, I'm like a lion on the Serengeti plains. I want to pounce. So I go over, say hi, nice to meet you. Honored, so excited you're here, blah, blah, blah. Walk away. He goes, wait, come back. I'm like, what? What do you want? No.
What, Paul?
I'm so busy. He goes, I go, what do you do? He goes, what do you do? I go, I'm a stand-up. What's your name? He goes, Paul. He goes, oh, Paul, that's a good name. I'm like, I'll do the jokes, buddy. No. So we start talking. One thing leads to another. You got a kid. I got a kid. You tour. Just talking. 5-10 minutes, like regular people. Outside, I'm smooth. Hey, I'm talking to Paul McCartney. Inside, I'm talking to Paul McCartney. Like out of my mind, right? And as I'm talking to him, I'm getting closer and closer to his face.
Oh, no.
Because I know. And he's like against the wall, like the close talker in Seinfeld. I'm so close, like I could have cleaned. You ever see those chimps where they clean fleas?
Oh, yeah.
I could have cleaned like ticks off his eyebrows. I was that close to him because I'm checking him out because he's Paul McCartney. He's iconic, right? So then I blurt these words out as we're talking. You know what? I really like to talk to people about process and how they do what they do on my podcast. would you do my podcast? We could talk about music. He goes, yeah, sure. Just like that.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Now, here it goes. How would we do it? And I'm not making this up to be funny. This is what I sounded like. He goes, how would we do it? And I'm like, and I completely froze. I'm like, and I started like rubbing my thigh like Rain Man and like rocking back and forth. I go, I'll come to London. He goes, we're in a room in New York together. Why would you come to London? And then he goes, is it easy to do? And I go, oh, it's really easy. And I actually said to Paul McCartney, it's easy. I know you're busy. You could do it on your phone naked from your toilet. I'm like, what am I saying?
No, you didn't.
End of story. I go, look, I'll set this up with your assistant. He goes, no, you and I will do it. I go, what? He goes, they're going to just make it too complicated. You and I will exchange phone numbers.
Oh, my gosh.
And then when I call you, you have to be ready to do it. I'm like, okay. So I think he's giving me a number to a Chinese restaurant or something, right? So he does the show. I was working at the Daily Show at the time, too. So I'm late for that show. He finishes the Colbert Show. My phone rings. I don't recognize the number. I let it ring the voicemail.
Oh, no. What are you doing?
This is the voicemail.
This is the voicemail.
Here. I'm going to ring you back in 5 minutes to do the podcast thing. I've got some time now. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of time. So if you're there in 5 minutes' time, you got me. Okay, bye.
Nice.
And you never let a call go to voicemail again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have this saved in 80 places, including.
Was he naked on the toilet, Elvis style? Or what?
Yeah, that's where I did the interview. I was in the tub. He was in the toilet. I had to stall him for an hour and a half because I didn't have a line
Oh,
set
my
up or anything.
gosh.
I was having a nervous breakdown. Couldn't have
Paul,
been nicer.
That's
So,
terrific.
good luck with permission to speak. It's already big success. Check it out Friday, February 2nd. Go to st94.com at the Sellersville Theater. And we thank you for stopping by this morning.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you, buddy.
I hope I lived up to John's.
Yes, well,
whatever. I appreciate
we
it.
listened to DeBella. Thanks. We
Thanks,
got
guys.
lots more coming up on the Eagles offseason, including some other questions that have to be answered that are more mission critical.
75thefanatic.com.
Great having a chance to talk to Paul there. Pat, you want to talk about pressure?
Yeah.
They come into a room, and the entire writers for the Colbert Show, they sit in a room, they get a news briefing on what the biggest news stories are of the day, mostly political or whatever. And then they say, okay, write your jokes. And the joke writers have to sit there on their computers and write jokes. And then they have at like noon, they have okay, now everybody present your jokes.
No.
And you have to then present your jokes, and the jokes that get the biggest laugh in the room get picked for the show.
I would
That'd be like
not have
taking
one
an
joke
exam.
picked. Yeah, I would not have one joke.
Come on, you'd be good.
No, I'm not good like that under pressure.
No?
I was proud of my Elvis line, though. I was proud of that one.
I mean, I think
you'd fist pump in the studio for that one.
I think you'd have some funny ones.
I didn't get it.
I think you'd have some funny ones.
Probably because you're with a group of funny people also, so you're bouncing, right? Like,
I feel like
you know how. Well,
sure.
I know how to. Like when I go out to lunch with my friends, my boys from high school, we can bring up a subject, and our wives hate it, but we'll add on to it and add on to it to the joke, and go on and on and on, and we will be dying laughing. Now, these guys probably do the same thing. They'll write something out, and then somebody will say, oh, yeah, and how about this? And then how about that? I would love to sit in on that.
I don't know if that happens
creative writing
as much as you think, though, because it's a big competition. Yeah, like I know
could be.
I know SNL is very similar, where it's
get to work.
Yeah, write the jokes, and it is very cutthroat in the SNL writing room about they want their skits presented and they want them to make it on air, and if they don't, it's what do they do? I mean, their job's on the line. So I don't know if it is bouncing around.
I thought it was cool when we had what's his face? Oh, Hurley on. How he talked about that his character pretty much had an individual writer.
Yes,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, so somebody's like dialed into that. I don't know. I think that'd be amazing. You have to have humor. It's not so much a writing skill as so much as a humor skill. But, yeah, that's pressure, John. You're right.
The 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by the Bagster. There's no pressure in that. You buy it any day you want, that dumpster in a bag. You take it home, you fill it, you schedule it for pickup, and it's gone. Get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. For details, go to Bagster.com. Bob was talking about the idea of something you can do without in sports. That some things that you could potentially do without. I thought
Put on your thinking caps, and I want you guys to have fun with this.
Okay.
All right, so I told you last night, didn't have a lot sporting events to watch.
Well, you watched women's basketball.
So I watched LSU Mississippi State basketball.
Which is supposed to be good.
There is a thing with women's basketball right now that drives me crazy. And you guys know I love watching ball. I don't care who's playing and all that. But women's basketball, this is driving me absolutely ape bleep nuts.
Okay.
Why do these college girls, women, have to wear fake eyelashes and a ton of makeup when they're playing a basketball game? You guys probably don't watch all that much.
Well, no, but I mean, I've seen it. No, but I've seen it when the tournament comes around. I mean,
like eyelashes that are bigger than me. I just don't. I don't get it. And then, like the other day, I saw an assistant coach for one of the college women's team that had on like this puffy jacket, like it wasn't a fur, but it was something like a half crop jacket, and underneath, she was wearing like a skin tight leather pantsuit or something like that. And people on Twitter were like, "What is this?"
Hey man, look good, play good.
Is that it?
Yeah, probably. That's a big part of it.
Should it not bother me?
No, I don't think it should.
Okay.
Honest to God. Now we all have things in sports that will bother us that we can sit back and go, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, this is old man yelling at a cloud. Like me, it's the Taylor Swift crap. I need separation of NFL and T-Swift. But with this one, yeah, I think a big part of it is if I can play good and I can look good, why wouldn't I do both?
I do. I find it amazing. Like there's somebody sitting in front of a mirror has to be, a lot of time before a game to put on makeup and eyelashes.
Yeah, and you're going to sweat. You're going to sweat and you're going to get nasty. I can't. My girls the other day, we were at lunch last Wednesday, and the Australian Open was on. And both Liv played some tennis when she was younger. My wife grew up being forced to play tennis. Like it was part of that was you want to play a sport? Well, you got to play some sport. So tennis. They were like, why do the women not wear white? You see, in Jamaica, they would just wear white.
Like at Wimbledon, you have to wear white.
Like you wear white.
Yeah.
And she was like, the girls that were competing were dressed like wildly, and she goes, those aren't even tennis outfits. They're like, the one girl had on an outfit. She goes, that's like a nightclub outfit. She goes, she looks great in it, which it might play to Pat's look good, feel good. But she goes, but that doesn't even look like a tennis outfit.
Yeah, Serena Williams used to design her own tennis outfits
and sold them
for each tournament. Somebody on here said, hey Bob, how about NIL maybe? Maybe they're trying to get noticed, and that's a great point.
That's not bad.
No, that's not. I don't know. I am an idiot. Like, I'm the guy that rolled out of bed and went and played basketball. Like, you didn't care. To get made up to play a sport. Here's another one I'll give you. Ready? I can't stand and I see it football players more than anything, wearing wedding rings while they're playing. I don't know why that bothers me, but it does.
But wearing a wedding ring?
While you're playing a sport?
A lot of them wear
the rubber thing or whatever.
The rubber one.
Let me ask you, does it bother you? Because this bothered me. When Rip Hamilton continued to wear the mask after he broke his face, I was like, dude, your face is fine. Take off the friggin' mask. You look ridiculous. That always bothered me. But guys wearing shooter sleeves, half the time it was on the wrong side.
That's a great one.
That never bothered me because that was a fashion trend that caught on with AI, and a lot of people have taken it. I can't stand the compression pants though, like the long leggings. That always bothers me.
Oh, does it? See, I've gotten used to that.
The leggings just bother the hell out of me. Like, what are you doing? But once again, it's like you get over it pretty quickly. All that matters is
I go back to the shooting sleeve, John. When I was coaching basketball and a kid came out, these were freshmen in high school, and he came out because it was Iverson here and all that, and he comes out with a shooting sleeve. And I'm like, yeah, Billy, what's that? He's like, shooting sleeve. I said, it helps you shoot? He said, yeah. It's supposed to keep your arm loose. I said, you're right-handed. He's like, yeah. I said, it's on your left arm.
They don't even know. They're just doing it.
Yeah, so that's just funny stuff. But look, it doesn't make me mad. I just don't understand it. Why you get made up before a game? Why do you have to wear a wedding ring while you're playing a sport?
Because somebody might propose to you in that moment.
and they want them to know that they're married.
Yes.
My greatest one has been corrected. My greatest pet peeve like that.
Go ahead, what is it?
Has been corrected in the past year. You know what it is, Pat? Past year it was corrected.
No.
At some point, baseball players had to have their own little ADHD routine that caused them to constantly step out of the batter's box every pitch, do their little routine. Now I'm going to adjust my glove, and now I'm going to tap my shoe. And last year, baseball just said, that's bullcrap. None of it's necessary. It wasn't necessary for 140 years. We're not doing it anymore. And everybody thought it was going to be a problem. It wasn't a problem at all.
No.
Baseball adjusted to it. Players adjusted to it, which showed you just how bull poopy the whole thing was. It was unnecessary. It was look at me. Here, here's my little process. Let me watch it now, kids. Match my process, and that Nomar Garcia Paris started it all.
Yeah, maybe some guys get into a routine.
Yeah,
and
but
that's what they like to do.
But it wasn't necessary to delay games to have you be able to step out of the box.
Delaying the game part, yeah, I totally agree with you.
If you can do it now within your time frame.
If you can do it within your time frame, that's fine. Like another thing that used to bother my grandfather to death, and it didn't bother me, but it popped into my head because of this conversation I wanted to have with you guys. He couldn't stand that baseball managers had to wear uniforms. He said, you don't see NBA coaches wearing uniforms, NFL coaches. Why do baseball managers have to wear uniforms? And I was a little kid, I never really thought of it, but it did pop up into my head that since I brought this subject up.
I watched, Pat, I was showing Christina because she was looking at the other day at the Flyers game. We were talking about, the different eras of the game. And they saw highlights from 1987 finals. And I said, well, Brian Propp was there. Well, Brian Propp scored the big goal in Game 6 to tie it in the 87 finals and everything. So I'm showing video of it, and I look at it, and I said, I haven't even, in my mind, and I do this for a living, recognized it. Go watch highlights of the 87 finals, the 84 finals, the 85 finals, or anything like that, and you will find almost no one in the stands wearing a jersey.
Oh, I've noticed that before.
People came to games dressed as they were dressed. Like the crowd at the Flyers game, it's the Stanley Cup Finals, and barely anybody has a Flyers t-shirt on or a Flyers jersey on. They're just at the game, dressed as they would be.
Yeah, they're in trench coats.
They're in, like, well, no, it was May, so it was still warm. It was really warm outside. So people are they're dressed, though, just like in normal clothes. And I'm like, today, you can't go to a sporting event in Philly where everybody isn't decked out totally in the team gear.
Yeah, you're a weirdo if you aren't wearing something.
Wonder why that was. Like,
we didn't have, I'm trying to think, and the one thing I think is we didn't have websites to buy gear.
It was a big thing to get a jersey when I was a
my
kid. And my
gosh, it
parents
was
didn't have any
huge.
money, but it was a big thing. Yeah, I'm trying to think. We didn't.
And when you got a sweater or something,
we made
you wore it outside, like playing hockey or street hockey or ice hockey or pond hockey. You would wear it then as a kid, but you didn't wear it to games. And if you go watch the video of it, there's like almost no one in the stands that is wearing anything that like says, I'm at a Flyers game.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that's so amazing that's changed, that between different eras.
Yeah.
And that, it's really interesting, but I never looked at that and that light bulb went off.
No, now it's like a contest among fans, like who has the better one, got.
Erin Andrews has her own line of women's clothes. Alyssa Milano has her own line of NFL women's clothes. There's two.
Alyssa Milano's baseball, isn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, she's baseball.
Yeah.
Erin Andrews has the football and I think the hockey.
Is that right?
That in her clothing line, like women for designer stuff.
Oh, you know what? I think the Wells Fargo. So, Pat, when we got that tour down there, wasn't Erin Andrews in there for their hockey line? Yeah.
They have that's the cap and what's it? I just saw it the other day at Wells Fargo Center.
Yeah, I forget what it's
Beautiful
called.
gear.
Yeah.
Amazing gear. High end, but amazing gear in there. So
yeah, when we were kids, honest to God, it was a treat to get like a white shirt, a white T-shirt, and getting your parents' permission to get markers and stuff and draw the Flyers emblem on the front and, put a name on the back with a number.
How about the iron-ons out of the Inquirer?
Iron-ons
or the Bulletin. They would give you. Pat never lived in the iron-on era.
Yeah,
I did not,
and
unfortunately.
if you were lucky enough to get a jersey, you never got a jersey with a name and a number on it. If you were lucky enough to get a jersey, it was blank. It might have the Flyers emblem, and then you'd have to take it to a store that had the machine that would press it for you. I'll never forget that.
See, we had one in Havertown, and I'm sure it's still there, that did that kind of stuff. So you could get a name put on it if you had one. But it wasn't the quality of it is today.
Oh, God, no.
All this gear.
But that's fun, yeah. That back then, looking at highlights, you didn't see jerseys. I had to get used to. I'll never forget when hockey first started putting advertising on the boards.
Oh yeah, well that's
and I
another
had to
thing.
Get used to it, and I was like, oh wow, that's really weird.
And on the road, they have the technology that puts the Flyers ads on the road boards.
Oh, is that right?
So when you watch a road Flyers game, you'll notice that the ads on the boards are stuff like, okay, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Why would they be having something for Philly on the boards? They can superimpose ads on the boards. It's amazing the technology and the way things are changing.
Yeah, Pat, you have anything in sports that just bothers you, like something innocuous, like some of the stuff that I brought up?
Yeah, I mean, I said a little bit the Rip Hamilton, but that was years ago.
Right.
But probably the one in basketball is the tights. I think they're just stupid. You look ridiculous.
The tights underneath shorts?
Yeah, you look absolutely stupid.
Okay, Connor's pissed at you right now.
That's fine.
Because you know Connor's wearing the
short shorts coming back too has bothered me. Like all of a sudden, guys are wearing like short shorts, and that's bothered the hell out of me. Connor's going to be annoyed by that.
I have a lot of pair of those compression pants, long pants, because I guess when my son played in college, they gave them.
Okay.
So I have like 4 or 5 pair at the house.
Do you wear them under sweats?
If I'm going to like a game outside,
under sweats,
oh,
yes,
man,
right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, Eagles game or something like, or when we did pregame outside, sure.
But you're not wearing them. You're not wearing them around,
right, Pat?
walking in them.
So
No,
I
if
got
anybody
I got
does that.
Chunas popping in around in
wait,
here
Chunas
with
is
like
wait.
short shorts. and
Chunas is wearing the.
I mean,
is he
showing
wearing,
off them pasty thighs,
Is
boy.
he wearing the spandex? Is he
Pasty-
wearing the spandex compression pants?
Pasty thighs save
underneath
lives.
it? I mean, seriously.
Andrew Salchunas coming
I
up
found
at 10
something
a.m.
else that
girls.
bothers me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
seeing a
it's
lot.
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that really
Yeah,
is. That's
I know.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
That is-
Haley's gonna have to
Go
put an
stand behind me
NSFW
for a second.
for the YouTube
Oh
channel.
my
let
gosh!
the
Yeah, let's
YouTube
give
people-
everybody a look. There is Chunas
Yeah,
is wearing the.
this is what Chunas comes in
wearing
with.
the-
I'm sorry for bringing this up because now all of
Stop
a sudden
going
he's
into
coming in.
Connor's locker without his permission to take his clothes off of him.
It's not necessarily though in sports and like the pro athletes, but John, you mentioned something earlier that always annoys me. The people that will wear like random hats of teams they don't care about when you ask like, are you a I don't know, are you
an Indians
Vegas
fan?
Golden Knights fan? They're like, no, I just like the logo. There's plenty of cool logos I like. I mean, I like the Kraken logo, but I can't bring myself to wear it.
You don't put another team's logo on. Like you're not a fan of that team. Well, it's fashion. And then it'll be like, you don't understand fashion. Well, I do. I said the baseball cap and fashion, you're stretching on the fashion thing. You're stretching the definition of fashion.
I am a hypocrite
little
though, because I do have an Edmonton Oilers third jersey that I loved. So I'm a hypocrite with this.
and
I'm
it's
a hypocrite.
beautiful.
It's a cool jersey. I apologize to everyone that just heard that rant because I am the living proof of a hypocrite.
But wait a minute,
I
if
love that
anybody
jersey.
looks at that jersey,
You'd have to.
Yeah, but it's more of a.
You'd have to be like a big hockey fan,
Right,
to
exactly.
realize it because it's like it's the third jersey from
It's got the
2003.
oil drop.
Yeah, it's like a lug nut oil
Right.
drop. It's different color. It's a dark blue and white and silver. It's not the blue, orange, and white. You know, I mean, it's a throwback for sure.
It's unbelievable.
But I mean, for the most part, like that's the only one. Like I love Pavel Bure. I could never wear a Vancouver Canucks Pavel Bure shirt or something. But once again, I'm a hypocrite because I have the one.
I ask you all this question because it seems to be something that is a huge debate on social media, sort of putting a bow on the show today. There are people who are saying you cannot criticize Dan Campbell for the way he coached the NFC Championship game because his aggressive nature is what won the Detroit Lions so many games, and that was their style, and that was their MO. So if you're criticizing him, you're being stupid because if he hadn't been so aggressive, they never would have made it to the championship game. And the analytics people are coming out going, well, there was a 2% better chance of him going for it on fourth down. Instead of just saying, no, just let their reliable kicker kick a field goal and go up by 3 scores in the second half of a championship game that sends you to the Super Bowl. I was surprised that people are going to die on this hill defending Dan Campbell because I think it's stupid with a capital S. I really do. If you're saying, yeah, he was aggressive all year, this was the time. This wasn't the time to be aggressive.
I can see absolutely both sides of it.
Explain what you
the guy got there.
Right.
The guy got a Detroit Lions team there. While many of us thought they were going to be a playoff team, up and coming. Everybody's saying, no, I don't think anybody expected them to go that far. You were thinking maybe playoff, maybe win the division. Okay, your natural step is to get into the playoff, and then it's a young team, and you grow from there. How did he do it all year? By doing what he did on that game. Look at it this way. Would people be more upset if he wasn't himself and lost the game than he was himself and lost the game? I understand, and I made the point saying sometimes you have to be smart and forget the aggressiveness. But if a guy gets there all year by being aggressive, and then you get to the point where it's, do I be aggressive or do I not? And he goes against what he did all year, and they wind up losing the game, how do you live with yourself more?
A 3%, here's another one, a 3-score lead in the second half, thanks to ESPN stats and information. So if you go up by 3 scores in the NFL in the second half, you are going to win greater than 90% of the time. So enough analytics or whatever is the thing. There's your analytics for you. If I kick this field goal, I'm up 3 scores. Better than 9 times out of 10, my team is going to hold the 3-score lead, and I'm going to the Super Bowl. That's all the analytics you need. That's all you need to know. Better than 90%. I'm doing it.
Really, that's a number. Better than 90%.
Better than 90%.
You win if you're
up 3 scores, at the time that the Lions could have kicked the field goal.
Wow, that's a lot of analytics. Somebody brought all that up.
They keep that graph. Do you ever see you probably don't because you're not on the internet at the time of games. Every single game on ESPN, Bob, you can go to the box score. And the analytics department tells you the Eagles are winning in the third quarter. They're up by 10. It tells you right now the Eagles' probability to win is 66% or 67%. And literally the next first down by the Chiefs or whatever, that number will change. It's a constant moving thing. They keep it on their box score. Here's the analytics real time telling you how much of a chance your team has to win.
You're relying on analytics. As much as we've put down analytics and you just did your analytical voice there,
yes.
As much as we put it down, you're still relying on it.
No, but I don't think it's analytics. It's just 3 scores. You're up by 3 scores at the time they were in the game.
Isn't
you're
that the
winning.
definition of an analytics?
No, well, it's just but it doesn't have to be. That's not deep analytics. A 5th grader could understand that math. It doesn't. You don't need a degree from Harvard. You don't need to study anything in college to know if you go up by 3 scores in an NFL game at that point in the game, you're winning at a 90%, better than 90% clip. That's not. You don't need any advanced degrees. You can be a grade school kid and understand it.
Well, somebody has to do all those numbers in order for. So that is the definition.
But it's available to you. Yeah, it's available.
But yeah, and it is available to you. And Dan Campbell seems not to be that type of a coach. And Dan Campbell got the success that he had this year with the Detroit Lions of being that gambler. Yeah, look, I hear you. How do you live with yourself? In that moment, do you stay true to yourself or do you go with analytics?
I want to be up 17. I want to be up 17.
Okay, yeah, and I said to you, I think I would have done it too, but I understand both sides. I really do understand both sides because a fan base, if he didn't stay true to what got him there and still lost the game, man, not only are you upset you lost, you're upset that you didn't stay true to yourself.
Yeah, I at that point, what I would stay true to myself is that I would say, how am I going to stay true to it? I'm going to stay true by giving my team the best chance to win. That's my job. My job as coach is to do that. And in fact, Sports Illustrated, which is now, I don't know if this is one of their AI writers, Dan Campbell doesn't deserve criticism for the Lions' loss to the 49ers. Dan Campbell there would be people in this city that want him fired. There would be people, if that happened in that game, that would want him fired, that's like a fireable thing.
So if it gives the story and how I laid it out, where he stayed true to what he did all year long and all that, and then you had a story next to it that said Dan Campbell was absolutely wrong in what he did, you couldn't see both sides of it.
I couldn't see the sides of you can't criticize him because I can't understand you shouldn't be critical of Dan Campbell for this. There's data that says, yeah, he did the dumb thing. He didn't do the smart thing.
And there's human nature that says he stayed true to himself and what got him successful to there. So
I got you.
I absolutely see both sides of it. Now, if story 1 was written, he screwed up, and story 2 was, no, he stayed true to himself, I could read both and come out and say, I do understand both sides.
By the way, have a note from Robert, the philanthropy director for the Sons of Ben, as we get ready for the opening, as union season gets ready to just get rolling. They are help kick Hunger 2024. Their annual fundraiser will help raise funds for our friends at the Bernardine Center coming up on Saturday, February the 3rd. That's this Saturday at the Broken Goblet Brewing in Bensalem from 1 to 4 p.m. It's a wonderful event, growing number of people involved. Tickets are $50. You get 2 drink tickets, alcohol and non-alcoholic, a buffet from Dog and Bull, 5 raffle tickets, and access to more raffles and auctions at the event. If you want to get involved, go to Sons of Ben. Check out their website. Robert's got a big event. They have a big Help Kick Hunger 2024, the annual fundraiser coming up on Saturday. And we love the Sons of Ben. And we may have a little fun with the union. We'll tell you about that coming up tomorrow at our first Friday. Support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, David Auto Group, and David Kelleher and his whole crew, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. Remember, you want to get in on First Friday. It's going to be fun. Make sure that you get in at 975thefanatic.com. Get yourself registered. We would look forward to seeing you. Andrew Saltunis and the best show ever. Have the rest